Surprise!
Hello.
Surprise! Yeah. We were stood in the studio earlier getting ready for tonight's chat play stream. Come join us at 7:30. And I had a nice little cheeky phone call from Games Workshop who have said Balanced Dataslate is going live earlier than anticipated.
Yeah.
NDA timing has moved. I've told you guys before, they do a lot of musical NDAs lately. A lot of it's because of leaks. If people stop supporting leaks, we stop getting messed around for content. However, they have moved the NDA time and date for 3 things to 13:30 UK time today. That is the Balanced Dataslate, the points changes in the Minotaur and Field Manual, and this chapter-approved Arks of Omen. We'll start with the positive, Joe. There's not a lot. The positive is Arks of Omen, the team, when this first came out, we actually got quite excited about competitive 40k again.
Yeah, obviously Games Workshop showed off the new Arks of Omen detachment. I was like, yes, I could do narrative lifts at tournaments now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was a good thing.
Yes.
This was the good thing. Just to give you a quick heads up, this is obviously normally our game studio, but because my office studio is just me in a chair, it would have been cosy. So we're using the game studio today. I have got my laptop in front of me so I can see chat, so we can see what you guys are saying to us. I have got the deck in front of me so I can do things. Yeah. I just need to do things like press this button. Right, that's about it for us for today.
In the future, can we get a nice studio with big swivelly chairs?
It's in motion, Joe. Give me time, and it costs money.
Well,
right
now.
And Joe likes lots of new toys, so
all the time.
I have also got in front of me my iPad with the Balanced Dataslate and the points changes on. Now, what I am going to say to start with is, I think this is the fucking worst update Games Workshop have ever done.
And I'll try and put a positive spin on it.
I'm going to try not to be too negative, but I think because this is brilliant. And from what we've seen from the other Arks of Omen's books so far showcased on the community page, that looks brilliant. The Balanced Dataslate and the points, however, I think they're done by different teams in different rooms because they are fucking awful.
So I agree with it, but as a positive person, I will find the silver lining.
Yeah.
It won't be for the armies that that it's aimed at, but
Joe spent some time this afternoon repairing some of the Harlequins, and you might as well not have bothered. We'll get into that in just a moment.
Right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to talk through the Balanced Dataslate in relative detail, because I feel like that's the piece that people are most interested in. We will talk briefly about Arks Open Grand Tournament. We're not going to go into the missions. We'll talk mostly about how you now build an army and how that works, and how certain channels have put leak videos out that are wrong.
Do you know what my favourite leaks are?
What's that?
The ones that are wrong.
The ones that are wrong. Yeah.
People that put time and effort into
the ones that people
content.
that make videos just about leaks and then get it wrong. Yeah. That makes me the happiest. And we'll briefly touch on the points changes as well, because there is some significant points changes. There's also some mental points changes, because you know what wasn't like tearing up the meta, Joe? What wasn't tearing up the meta was 18 zoanthropes. So I don't feel like they needed to go up by 20 points a model to 70 points per zoanthrope now.
It's a bit aggressive, considering they don't have guns or fight incredibly well in combat, and they do about an average of 6 mortal wounds a turn.
I have historically said that Games Workshop sometimes take a sledgehammer to fix a problem that just needs a gentle tap. This time, they've put their sledgehammer away, Joe, and they've gone for fucking Thor's hammer. That's what they've used this time. They have smashed some things into oblivion, and they've made other choices that just don't make sense. We'll get into this in just a moment. So, we will start off by saying a big thank you to Ricky Chow, who super chatted. Missed opportunity for Joe to sit on Liam's lap for a stream. It would have been
just like Santa.
I would have got such an erection.
We'll do that for Christmas.
Yeah, okay.
Although I am quite... We had a very quick run over to Morrison's to get lunch and then waft it down as quickly as possible, and I've got a bit of a meat sweat going on now.
We had a semi-chilled afternoon plan. We've been dialing in the front camera. Hopefully you guys are seeing that this now looks as nice as top down. So we've been dialing in the front camera. We had a nice chilled afternoon plan to get ready for chat plays. We're organising the studio, making some more space, and then we got this phone call. So we panicked and stuck this out straight away. Big thank you to Games Workshop. As soon as they found out that they were bringing the date forward, the time forward, they phoned me immediately. So I'm not whinging at them for how much notice they've given us. It's not their fault that people keep leaking content. I actively encourage the community to not watch leak content. But big shout out to my guy at GW who phoned me immediately to let me know that we could do it, because we were originally, the time was 5 o'clock this evening, and because we go live at 7:30, we just weren't going to bother. But we've got to stream out a few people immediately.
It does slightly change chat plays tonight though.
You're in trouble now. You're in danger. Right, so we have in front of me the Balanced Dataslate, which is currently live on the Warhamster community page. Went live about 20 minutes ago, maybe just a bit more.
They could do a read-along.
If
they're on a computer, they could open... if you're cool enough to have 2 Like
yeah, you can
2 windows.
actually open this now. Same as the points changes. The points changes are currently available as well on the Warhamster community page. We have been told categorically, I checked, I can talk about this. I'm not sure if it's up for pre-order yet. If it does go up for pre-order, it'll probably be Saturday if it's not up already. Make sure you use the Element Games link in chat to order your Arks of Omen Grand Tournament mission pack if you're in the UK or EU, because it directly supports us. Big shout out to the amazing people at Element Games. They are amazing. We love them very dearly. Anyway, the balanced data slate, right. So what I can't do, which I was trying to do when I went to open it early, I was trying to find the old one so we can compare and contrast, but we can't.
No.
Because the old one's been replaced by the new one already. I don't have the old one saved anywhere. My mistake.
Maybe we should have done that.
Well, yeah, but when because I didn't expect him to phone me straight away, and I wasn't going to do any content about it, so it wasn't a problem. However, the first thing you will notice with the balanced data slate when you open it is the first section of the old balanced data slate, Joe, was. Do you remember?
Armour of Contempt?
Armour of Contempt. The first section of the new balanced data slate, Joe, is now aircraft. Armour
Those
of Contempt.
hideous beasts.
Armour of Contempt. The one thing that sometimes was just about keeping anything in power armour in the game, apart from sisters who didn't really need it, but specifically for Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines, the one thing that gave them a glimmer of hope against all the massed AP-1 that exists currently in 40k is gone. They've removed it.
If you're a Chaos Space Marine player, 8 units of Gatling Cannon Havocs is in.
So now, the positive side of me is very happy that Armour of Contempt is gone, because I hated the rule.
Yeah,
That's
it was horrendously complex and cumbersome.
The positive side of me is that the rule's gone and I hated it. I didn't like that rule at all. The negative side of me is like, what have you done that was the only thing that was keeping them basically alive?
What have you added to replace this?
There's no rule. There's no rule to replace Armour of Contempt.
Not even like a 5-up field of pain.
And there's other things that have happened, which we'll talk about in just a moment, which has made it even worse for Marines. So now, Space Marines are just going to fucking crumple all the time. Now, what they have done to kind of try and balance this is they've put all the base cost of Space Marines up in points. They've all got more expensive. No, up. The base cost of all Space Marines have gone. Oh, sorry, they've all gone up. Yeah.
I thought they went down.
No. They've made all the special war gear, heavy weapons, etc., all the special weapons, heavy weapons free.
All those ones that intercessors are carrying.
Yeah, but the base costs...
All grenade launchers that they have.
Base costs have all gone up, Joe. So Space Marines have got more expensive, although you can get free war gear now, and they've lost Armour of Contempt.
But surely you'd only put the points up on the units that have access to a lot of war gear. Because the units that don't have much war gear...
I am lost for words at this choice.
Oh.
There's another...
That's a genuine reaction now. I thought they'd gone down.
No, they have... Base costs have all gone up.
Oh, that's the problem.
So, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. In fact, I have an email today because the points changes that we got through on our preview copy have changed from the points costs that have now come through. Brilliant, because, you know, why would you just keep everything the same? So our preview copy of points changes that we got a little while ago, we've had a change from GW directly. So originally our PDF that we got told us that Deathwatch had all free war gear as well. So it says here, for example, Deathwatch Veterans, 27 points a model, an increase of 5 points per model. They did, per model, so 25 points for a 5-man unit, gone up. They did originally scrap all the cost of all the weapons, including frag grenades, frag launchers, and all the Thunderhammers and stuff. It now says 12 points for Thunderhammer, heavy Thunderhammer stays, 10 points for Thunderhammer stays, 5 points for Xenophage Blade stays. So the melee weapons keep their cost.
Yeah, but
which now means that if you take a heavy Thunderhammer on a Deathwatch veteran, you're paying 39 points.
But a Deathwatch veteran comes with a power sword already, and a bolt gun with special ammunition.
Deathwatch Terminators, those ones we see everywhere all the time, they've gone up 2 points a model to 35 points a model, for example, and you now have to pay for the Cyclone Missile Launcher at 10 points, which I think was previously free.
Do you get the Thunderhammer Storm Shield for free?
You do, yes. Space Wolf, Wolf God Terminator squads are now up to 34 points a model, up 1 point. All war gear remains free, okay? It does say, there is a caveat, I'm going to read this out. Although this appears like an aggressive increase in base model cost, this unit gains an upwards of 80 points of old war gear for free, so this helps to even that change down to a maximum of 55 points of free war gear if you take all of the free war gear. So if you guys are spamming all of the war gear, you're probably saving points. But for most people who haven't been doing that and already have their models built because they didn't want to pay for all that war gear, you're just going to see a flat increase in your points and you've lost Armour of Contempt.
So there's a comment there from Aussie saying, do you have a Termi /Blade Guard list, Joe? Yes, I do.
We'll get into that later. So that's the big shock, right? Armour of Contempt's gone. It's gone for Space Marines. It's gone for Chaos Space Marines. It's gone for Adeptus Sororitas. It's gone for everything Power Armour. It's gone for Guard.
Yeah, because the new Guard Codex comes with track guards, which is only...
To be honest with you...
Which you ignore AP minus
We
1.
said this a few times when the new Guard Codex came out as a special edition box set. We said anyone who uses this new Guard Codex with the current balanced data slate is an idiot.
Yeah, especially when you run both of them to get, like, you run the new Codex versus the new Codex and use all the new stuff.
So the first thing we notice, Armour of Contempt gone, nothing to replace it, nothing to make it better, base cost for Space Marines all gone up. So, good job. I don't know if this is Games Workshop now starting to phase Space Marines out of the game, just in general.
I think like old Marines have been on the chopping block for a while, haven't they? If you think about it.
Old Marines, yeah, but this isn't just old Marines. This is everything, Joe.
I know. I'm trying.
Yeah. There is a comment in chat that says that the tanks and stuff have gone down. Vehicles have gone down, but we didn't see them spam. That's not a surprise.
But they're not core. So competitively, which this is obviously aimed at because of the Arks of Omen book.
Yeah.
No one runs normally non-core units in a competitive list.
No, and they still, the tanks lose Armour of Contempt, which means they're just even more fragile against anti-tank weapons, which were already just picking up tanks anyway.
Like a Vindicator tank.
Vindicator. Yeah.
Still gets picked up by a Vanquisher.
Easy. Yeah. Okay, so what is in the balanced data state? Let's not worry about what's been taken out necessarily. What is in the balanced data state? So remembering that a balanced data state completely replaces the old one. So if a rule was in the previous balanced data state, like Armour of Contempt, and it's not in the new one, it's gone. So some of the things that we won't read out, you'll go, you didn't read out this piece for Custodes. It's because it's been removed, which means they get the rule back. We've just seen them do this before. When AdMech came out, they nerfed them into oblivion. When AdMech came out, slowly but surely they've been giving them the rules back as they've struggled to keep up with the newer codexes. Not a bad way of doing it. The only thing I would wish they would do on balanced data state, they started doing this on points, and they do this on the FAQs, is I wish they'd add in magenta things that have actually changed.
Yeah, so this has been removed.
So there is a specific thing I'm going to talk about in just a moment that's in this balanced data state, which actually I found out was in the last one as well. I didn't know about it. So firstly, we're going to start with aircraft, all right? Aircraft, you know the things that were just winning everything all the time?
Oh, it says that someone tell Liam Space Marine points went down on the website link. Intercessors are down 2 points a model for shooting yourself.
I think if you look at the ones that can take war gear, they've all gone up.
Okay, so basically, Primaris units have gone down because they can't take anything.
Yeah.
And then old school Space Marines have gone up. Not that
The thing is, 1 to 2 points a model across an army that takes maybe 30 to 40 Marines isn't enough to make the difference to compensate for the difference of losing Armour of Contempt.
What upsets me the most about the Space Marine change, and with Primaris stuff going down, it just turns Space Marines into a horde army, which narratively is not what Space Marines are.
Yeah.
Because this chapter is 1,000 Marines.
But even then, I reckon you could gain 500 points of Space Marine stuff, and I still don't think it makes up for the loss of Armour of Contempt in the current meta of the game, personally. And we'll go into some other issues that they have in just a moment, right? It's just not a great move. I only read the email about Death Watch Terminators, Death Watch Veterans, and Wolfguard. They all went up, so it annoys me, right? Mike, just have a look at the point. We'll go through the points in a minute. Every unit's changed in some way, right? Anyway, let's get into the balanced data state. Aircraft, okay? Those things that are winning all the tournaments all the time.
Yeah.
Still restricted to just 2 aircraft, so it's a really good job. New Astra Militarum Codex lets you take them in squadrons of 3 still, right? Still restricted to 2. Another change for aircraft. We didn't really see them anyway. Now they must start in strategic reserve. Must start in strategic reserve. Full stop. Have to.
So... narratively, it makes sense because a plane has to fly to where you are. Obviously, unless it's a skimmer, in which case it's there already.
Lightning Creeper said, just wait for the Auspex vid. It'll tell us everything. Like he told you about how you deploy your armies, which is all fucking wrong. So I wouldn't believe everything he says.
Yeah. So I think.
Also, I love you, Lightning Creep.
I think plane. Because no one was really setting the world on fire with lightnings and thunderbolts, were they?
Yeah. No.
I think some planes needed it, like people that were running like 5 Eldar incredibly cheap Hemlocks. That was a problem at the time.
Well, you can only run 3, but you could also run a Crimson Hunter X Arc and 2 standard Crimson Hunters and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, so I think it makes sense, but not all planes are built differently. Not all planes' rules are the same. Like a Valkyrie is just a transport.
Yeah,
with a las cannon.
Yeah. So 2 of the same data sheet would make more sense, but they've kept it to 2 models. Okay, it still says 1 aircraft model if you're playing combat patrol or incursion-sized games, more than 2 aircraft models if you're playing a strike force, and no more than 3 if you're playing onslaught. The problem I have with this, like you say for Valkyries, which come in squadrons, and I think Tau have a flyer unit that comes in squadrons as well, a Forgeworld one. I can't remember what they're called.
The Tiger Shot. Tiger Shot?
No. There's a little Forgeworld thing that is a flyer battlefield roll slot that come in squadrons of 3, and they can only take
they're
one.
the big drones.
Essentially, yes. So when you look at Valkyries, I feel like this is still a cock-up, and they still need to say 2 of each data sheet. So you can still take 2 squadrons of Valkyries, because let's face it, 2 squadrons of Valkyries aren't winning you tournaments. But now you have to start them in strategic reserve, and it specifically states as well that if your flyers take up more than 50% of your points limit, which isn't particularly common, but if they do, then that's the only thing you can put in strategic reserves. You can't put anything else in strategic reserve now because you're over your 50% points limit. So...
It fixes the Marauder Destroyer problem where it couldn't fit on the table.
Yeah. I have to apologise to chat immediately as well. Apparently, according to chat, most Space Marine stuff is down if they can't take war gear. It still doesn't help massively. Does it? And Wolfguard Terminators, again, they could have made their war gear free and not changed their points, and they're still not going to be winning tournaments. Anyway, we've done the Space Marine piece. I'm angry about Space Marines, and I don't collect Space Marines. I'm angry about Space Marines.
You hate Space Marines.
I fucking hate Space Marines. So that is, I don't understand the theory or feeling or thoughts behind putting aircraft in strategic reserve all the time.
Do you reckon they're just trying to phase aircraft out of the game? So like in 5th, 6th edition, for those people that like to go back in time and talk about the old days.
I don't think they're trying to phase them out of the game. This is the paragraph that gives me their 100% their intent on this, I think. If an aircraft unit has a rule that is triggered after it has moved, that rule only takes effect if that model ends its move on the battlefield. For example, this means an aircraft unit cannot drop bombs on a unit in a turn in which it ends its move off the battlefield, right?
Okay.
So, we did see, on occasions, aircraft starting on the battlefield that bombing run on turn 1 and could fly off the board.
Yeah, like a lot of people running the Sunshot bomber.
Yeah, and then they come back on, bomb, and they could go, and you could angle it on and off.
Yeah.
So basically, they're stopping bombing turn 1. I think this, with that particular paragraph, this is why they're starting in strategic reserve. They're stopping bombing in turn 1, and if you come in on turn 2, you can't fly straight off the board again and do a bombing run. You have to stay on the board.
That makes sense.
So it makes more sense. Not sure we needed it. Then we go on to the next main change. Indirect fire weapons. An indirect fire weapon is one that can target units that are not visible to the bearer, e.g. mortars, smart missile systems, impaler cannons, etc. If such a weapon targets a unit that is not visible, i.e. no models in a target unit are visible to the firing unit when you select it as a target, then each time an attack is made with this weapon against the target phase, worsen the ballistic skill by 1, that's important, right? And add 1 to any armour saving throw made. Now, this last part is a part that's very interesting to me because we've not been playing that second part, despite the fact that it actually did appear in the last balanced data slate, but we missed it.
Yeah.
So we've been doing the -1 to ballistic skill, but we haven't been doing the +1 to the save. What this also means is, because there's a section just below it that's now disappeared, Astra Militarum indirect fire.
Yeah.
So Astra Militarum didn't suffer that -1 ballistic skill penalty in the old codex for indirect fire, and they've now removed it. So Astra Militarum, if you're firing indirectly with a basilisk, you're out behind a building, which is where a basilisk wants to be, and you're firing indirectly, that basilisk goes to ballistic skill 5+ from ballistic skill 4+, and you're hitting on 5s.
Yeah.
Not only that, what you're targeting, you're still only AP -3, now gets +1 save, and if you're targeting something that can give you a -1 to hit, Harlequins, you won't see them anymore anyway, but lightning fast reaction on Eldar, for example, you'll be hitting on 6s if you go indirect and giving them +1 save.
That's a problem. If they're in cover as well, so if they're in cover, technically they're getting +2 to their save. So if you've got 4+ armor save and you're in cover, it goes to 3+ because you're in cover, and then
2 up because
you get 2+.
Yeah.
Oh.
So like guard mortars,
I just bonk.
that are AP nothing.
Actually, just make people better.
Yeah.
because so guard mortars and the ordnance teams, obviously you could put take aim on them, which gives you +1 to hit and -1 AP, which would negate that. So you're counteracting that rule from the one order take aim, but you don't get it on manticores, basilisks, medusas, anything that's got wheels. Or tracks, should I say?
But if the thing you're targeting can somehow put a -2 to hit on them with 2 stacked -1s, you're still, because you worsen your ballistic skill by 1, you still end up with a minus. This is the problem. So I will, before we carry on in this data set, I had a call with GW last week and I fucking moaned. And I don't like to moan too much, but I like
You like to moan too much.
This is bollocks. This is so bad. And I said, this just flat ruins Guard Indirect. They said, well, no, we feel like we've powered them up enough in the new codex so that we can get rid of the indirect rules.
D6 plus 3 isn't as good as.
I mean, the only thing that I can think of is they've, on the whole, increased the flat damage. So instead of D3 damage, it's flat 2 damage for basilisks. Instead of D3 damage for battle cannons, it's flat 3 damage for battle, or whichever way around it is. I can't remember.
But the problem with the basilisks is they've gone from 9 to 3.
Yeah.
So you can have less basilisks and they're not as good.
Long story short, you won't see Guard Indirect anymore. There's just no point. It's rubbish. If you're firing an indirect weapon behind a building through dense cover, you're at -2 before your opponent's done anything.
Oh, that's a problem, isn't it? I didn't realise that.
Yes, because dense is -1 to hit, and firing indirectly now is -1 to your ballistic skill. So if you fire behind a building through dense into your opponent as a Guard Indirect player, you're already hitting on 6s.
Oh. But
good job, GW. Good job.
Orks haven't got worse. Still hit on 6s. That means the squigs are -1 instead of -2.
Yeah. So the other part of the front page is Bodyguard hasn't really changed. Essentially, Bodyguard's gone and it's Lookout Sir, even if the unit's less than 3 models.
Which makes Bodyguard units good because if they go less than 3 models, they're still
that was a change I was shouting for ages, and they did it, and I'm so glad they did it. I'm not saying I am the reason that they did it, but they did do that change. Because Bodyguard as was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So Bodyguard was basically you could hide your Bodyguard unit, stick your character out in front of a building, and you just couldn't target him.
Yeah, even if he charged you.
Yeah. Nowadays, that only works in conjunction with Lookout Sir rules. So if he's the nearest invisible, you can still target him.
Yeah.
However, Lookout Sir means if you've got 2 Sacrosants left in front of Morven Val, you still can't target Morven Val because the 2 Sacrosants are in front of her, and they confer Lookout Sir despite the fact they're less than 3 models. That's the right way. It should have been like that from the start. So that's cool. I'm okay with that one. It hasn't changed from before. Chaos Demons is the next change, right? Chaos Demons is a faction. So they were generic rules change. Now we get on to faction specifics. Chaos Demons. We're like 3 away from me walking out the room. So I checked this, and when I checked on the PDF, Flamers hadn't changed in points, and they were a problem. Do you remember Chaos Zinch Flamers? Do you remember Zinch Flamers?
Yeah. I've never been actually good enough to end up on the same team.
Big problem. So they have changed the Flamers, but they didn't change the points. So I think they're still 25 points a model, which is still really good. And they said, delete the following ability from the Flickering Flames weapon found on the Flamer's datasheet. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, that attack automatically hits the target. So basically, they were D6 plus 3 auto-hitting Flamers at AP -3 1 damage that could deep strike 12 inches away from you. Deep strike 9 inches away from you. They're the same, but instead of rolling to hit, instead of automatically hit, you now have to roll to hit. So you could still drop 5 Flamers in, still do 5d6 plus 15 shots, but you just have to roll to hit now. I don't think it's enough. I think they're still I still think they're almost an auto-include in the Demons list.
Can they get +1 to wound? I think they can through psychic power.
I'm not sure.
Paddy told me they could.
I'm not sure.
So, I mean, that's still very good. Because 10 of them puts out a lot. Like a lot of shots. And if they're hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s from a big beastie, I mean, you've got to hope that your army has access to some level of -1 to hit, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because they're still a unit that you literally can't interact with.
And they've still got that threat and vulnerable save, and they're only 25 points a model. I just think we're going to still see Flamers everywhere. Some comments on Guard. So they were insane with the exclusion previously and indirect current book. Now I agree with you. They were insane, and they needed to be toned down. But by flat removing everything, I'd make probably one major change instead of -1 to your ballistic skill, just -1 to hit.
Yeah.
So you can't stack it. That's all I care about.
Because there is a regimental doctrine where if you've got an infantry squad with a Voxcaster or a Sentinel that can see the unit, then you don't suffer the negative.
You have to be within 12 inches.
So the Guard squad or the Sentinel has to be within 12 inches of the target unit, but you then lose Born Soldiers.
Yeah, which is just too good.
Which is the main thing.
Which is just too good. So Chaos Demons, Flamers, no longer auto hit. That's it. From the Flickering Flames ability on the Flamers datasheet only. I don't think it's enough. I still think we'll see loads of them, but it is a change, and it's a positive change. I still think I'd have liked to see a points increase.
What's the -AP on those things?
I think it's 3. -3. Might be -2. I can't remember.
Well, they're a lot better now. Our contempt's gone.
Space Marines. Change the combat doctrine's ability to read. If every unit from your army has the Adeptus Astartes keyword, excluding agents of the Imperium and online units, that unit gains a bonus see below, depending on which combat doctrine is active for your army. During the first battle round, the Devastator doctrine is active for your army. From the second battle round onwards, at the start of the battle round, you can change which combat doctrine is active for your army as follows. If the Devastator doctrine was active for your army, you can change it to tactical. If tactical, you can change it to assault. Note, the Devastator doctrine, tactical doctrine, assault doctrines effects remain unchanged. So, that's important. You don't have to now change doctrines.
Oh, you don't have to, so you can stay in Devastator Doctrine for longer.
It says, during the first battle round, the Devastator Doctrine is active for your army. From the second battle round, at the start of the battle round, you can change which combat doctrine is active. Big change. So previously, factions that gained benefits from being in Devastator Doctrine, got it for one turn. Iron Hands is the one that comes to mind at the moment. Got it for one turn, lost it for the rest of the game.
Imperial Fists get +1 damage, don't they, on Strength 7 and above weapons?
I think so, yeah.
They do. So that actually makes Imperial Fists... I'm not going to say viable, but that does mean that things like Raven Guard, because obviously a lot of the stuff in my Raven Guard army is heavy weapons, like the Eliminators with the las fusils and the big baby carriers, and then they're better at killing characters when they go into the tactical doctrine, which means you can stay in the Devastator Doctrine for longer, which makes your heavy hitting stuff better. Yeah,
exactly. So Devastator Doctrine, you can now stay in for 5 battle rounds if you want to. Equally, Ultramarines who want to change the Tactical Doctrine normally in turn 2 can just stay in Tactical Doctrine for the rest of the game.
It's not bad. They have ways of flopping about as well, don't they?
I beg your pardon?
They can flip-flop between which tactical...
Yeah, some of them have like straps and stuff where you can move things.
Like Abaddon can make units go into... not into tactical, but I think there's Ultramarines have a way of doing that.
I actually, considering my complaint about Space Marines and Armour of Contempt, and chat telling me I'm wrong about points, which is... I don't care. I read the email about points updates and was like, oh, they put everything up because it can take war gear. This is fucking stupid. I didn't look at all the points because I just don't like Space Marines. I'll get Brom to sit down with a spreadsheet and project manage points comparisons. Anyway,
I would love that.
He would love that, wouldn't he?
Anyway, be rigid with excitement.
In terms of Space Marine changes, I actually like this one. I never like the idea that your army's benefit is Devastator Doctrine. We're going to give it to you for one turn.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
I think what I'd like. See, the problem you have here, though, is that armies that have... We haven't actually covered the Assault Doctrine, but armies that have the Assault Doctrine...
have to wait till turn 3.
So have to wait till turn 3.
And then they've got another point. Add the following bullet point to the detachment abilities of Adeptus Astartes detachments. As well as all your normal abilities you get for being a Space Marine, you now get this point. At the end of your command phase, if one or more Adeptus Astartes troops units... More on this later. Adeptus Astartes troops from your army are within range of an objective marker you control. That objective marker remains under your control even if there are no models within range of it unless your opponent controls it at the end of any subsequent phase. So, in specific missions that we've seen, Warzone Nachman, Warzone Nephilim and now Warzone Arks of Omen, there are things which we've always labelled sticky objectives. Right? Sticky objectives very, very simple. You move on to your objective in your movement phase. In your next turn, you're still on that objective at the end of your command phase, you can move off of it and you continue to control it. Sticky objective, very simple in principle, right? They've now given this to all Space Marine troops.
All troops?
All troops.
Not infantry?
No, not infantry.
But actual troops?
Just troops.
Troops.
We're going to jump ahead just quickly, Joe, to the Arks of Omen and their brand new, which we're all positive about, detachment. Okay? The Arks of Omen detachment, which now, if you're playing Arks of Omen, specifically states you must take an Arks of Omen detachment and only one Arks of Omen detachment.
Yes.
Cool, okay. The biggest bonus, the reason why we all got so excited about Arks of Omen, you didn't have to take troops anymore and it was 0 CP.
Yeah.
That's your Space Marines.
Which makes Space Marines really good.
And now your dog shit intercessors that might have gone down by a point or two, you have to take them for sticky objectives, basically.
So, you don't have to take them
but you do have
to make your army good, because chopping off the points of 3 units of intercessors means that you've got 300 points spare to spend on good Space Marine units, like Blade Guard, Vanguard Vets, Dreadnoughts, new characters. You still have to take them to be good at the mission.
I would have preferred this to say Adeptus Astartes unit with the objective secured ability, because then things like Rites of War would mean that you could still lean into elite Space Marine builds.
Or maybe Rites of War, like the Custodes thing, means that you double up the number of models in the unit. Because, so my issue with sticky objectives, right, is that most armies in the game, Sisters, Guard, Eldar, Drukhari, Quins, Nids, got average move of 8 to 10 inches. So if you leave your objective, your opponent's going to take it off you anyway.
It's not a great fix for Marine. I mean, I like them having that kind of rule, but by fixing it to troops choices, which I just don't think. So Deathwatch troops get it too. Yes, Chris Prime. It's all Adeptus Astartes troops units in any Adeptus Astartes detachment.
So everyone's moving to Deathwatch is what we're saying.
Everyone should be moving to Deathwatch is what we're saying. Or Blood Angels, Vanguard Vets, Thunderhammer Storm Shields. Go.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a nice addition. I think the combat doctrines thing is super cool for Space Marine players now. But
unless you want to be in the assault doctrine.
Let's be honest, right? If we keep an eye on Meta Watch over the course of the last half of last year, Space Marines have typically sat down at that 45% win rate, quite low in general compared to the rest of the factions out there. This is not going to fix Armour of Contempt going. And even with the points decrease, I don't feel like this is going to fix it.
I kind of feel like...
I'm happy to be wrong. I'm happy to look at MetaWatch in 3 months and Space Marines are topping the leaderboard. I'm happy for that to happen. I'm happy for a chat to go, ha, you got it wrong, Liam. But I just feel like this is just a flat bad change. And I'm not the only person that gave them this feedback.
I think I do like the change to the tactical the doctrines.
Yeah.
However, at the same time, I think the Deathwatch one is better. So the Deathwatch one allows you to pick which doctrine you're in. Each turn. So if you want to start in the assault doctrine, you've got 2 to 3 turns of staying in the assault doctrine, and then you can go into the tactical later. But it means like a Blood Angels player could be a lot more tactical. They're like, I'm going to start in tactical, and then I'm going to go into assault, and I'll stay in assault for 2 more turns, and then I'm going to go back to Devastator because my only units left on the table are heavy.
Now we're going to go into Death Guard, Joe. And
Yeah.
the reason why I'm quickly jumping to Death Guard is because there's something in the Death Guard that I thought we would see in Space Marines. What do Death Guard Terminators get? Both kinds. Obsec, because of Balanced Data Slate. Still got it. What do Thousand Suns Terminators get because of Balanced Data Slate?
Obsec.
That didn't get added to Space Marines.
Oh. Do Chaos Space Marines Terminators get it?
No.
Oh.
No.
Well, that's silly, isn't it?
No. But Custodes Terminators get it back. In a minute. We'll talk about that in a minute. Right, cool. So Death Guard, the only section for Death Guard is they still get Obsec, Blight Lord, and Death Shroud Terminators.
Didn't they have a change in the old one to their aura ability or something?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't know. I wouldn't have given it to Death Shroud. I would have just given it to Blight Lord. But okay.
This thing is though, this new detachment. So this new Arks detachment, every Death Guard army,
30 Blight Lords.
30 Blight Lords, 18 Death Shroud.
Job done.
Typhus. Done.
Drukhari then, remove core keyword from Talos and Kronos. I think that's the same as before.
Yeah.
Change the first sentence to Dark Technomancer's Obsession to read. Each time a unit with Obsession is selected to shoot, you can choose to enhance any or all of the range weapons models that you're not equipped with. Liquefier guns and twin liquefier guns can never be enhanced. I don't think that's a massive change.
So
the Obsession remains all-consuming.
So I actually think out of the balanced data sheet now and the change of Armour of Contempt, Drukhari is one of the biggest winners. Because vast portions of the Drukhari Codex are -1 AP. But I think there's going to be a massive explosion of witch armies now.
And they've gone down to 10 points a model again.
And they've gone down to 10 points a model again.
Yeah.
Which means that, like, we need more witches. We've only got 10 witches in the Drukhari army, and I've been asking for a while to go up to about 30,
I forgot as well,
40.
talking about witches in the Drukhari army, we did have a super chat from the Gingerest of Steves. What I'm taking from all these guard changing is that mortar hits through dense cover auto wound because guard are hard as nails and can shoot anywhere. I mean, if that's how you want to play it, Steve, be my guest.
We've been told that the guard army's broken. I'm not seeing it. I lose a lot with them. But
Yeah. Each the third bullet point for Drukhari, change the Artists of Flesh obsession to read. Basically, it's the same. Exclude vehicle models from Artists of Flesh, and you get -1 damage if the strength characteristic is less than 8, essentially.
Splinter cannons are good again because they're -1 AP.
Right, now let's make me fucking super angry. Disappoint you.
I spent a good half an hour, 40 minutes fixing the Drukhari army, which spent a lot of time smashed up. It wasn't smashed up because
Harlequins,
of
not Drukhari.
the Harlequins army fixing it. It wasn't smashed up because of the data sheet. It just got gammon hands.
When I read this, when we first got sent this,
Did you think it was a joke?
do you know what day I first got sent this balanced data slate to review, Jay? Do you remember?
Was it a day that you played it?
This got sent to me on my birthday. Someone at Games Workshop is a massive fucking troll.
I hope so.
This got sent to me on my birthday. So, Harlequins, right? The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullet points in Harlequins haven't changed. Luck of the Laughing God, still smashed into oblivion. You still start with none, and you have to roll for all of them. So if you roll any duplicates, you get none.
I think that's really unfair because obviously, because Eldar still get the not luck dice, but the fate dice, don't they? Why don't Harlequins just get fate dice?
Why can't they just get luck dice, but you say you can't use them for the same type of reroll in each phase? So you couldn't use them for 4 rerolls in your opponent's shooting phase for saving throws. Yeah. Anyway, you wouldn't use them for saving throws anymore. More on that later. So, Luck of the Laughing God hasn't changed. Light Sadith characteristic has changed, however. Still 18 inches away rather than 12 as written in the codex. Unmodified hit roll of 1 to 3 fails irrespective of abilities, weapon has, etc. I'm okay with that one. But we're starting to stack nerfs. Luck dice gone, basically. They're not gone, they're just much worse.
They're just... The thing is, though, your chances of rolling a double on 3 dice is so high. I think it's just make it D3.
The other thing I think with the light, which is the same from previously, is each time a unit with this characteristic makes a normal move advances the movement phase. In your shooting phase, it counts as having remained stationary. Does not apply if it's embarked within transport. So what you were seeing in light is fusion players inside boat. Boat advances 22 inches. Fusion pistols can still shoot. Now, if the boat advances, the boat can still shoot its shuriken cannons, but the guys inside can't shoot. I'm actually okay with that change as well.
Didn't you only get like 2 fusion pistols?
2 fusion pistols in a unit, yeah. So you're not losing loads, but 2 fusion pistols that can get within 3 inches in no time at all is still pretty tasty.
That means no one's going to be spending points on fusion pistols.
Dark Sadeth remains changed, so you can't fight on death anymore because apparently only Votann can still do that. Instead, you roll a dice on a 4+, you do a mortal wound, and if you watched the stream on Tuesday, I did 0 mortal wounds this way whatsoever in the whole game. So that's still changed. Then they added a bullet point. Harlequins were still just above or around the 55% win percentage, Joe. So I am in agreement that they still needed a slight change to their army.
This is not it.
This is not a slight change. This is where Thor's hammer comes in. Worsen the invulnerable save of every Harlequin's model by 1. If a Harlequin's model gains an improved invulnerable save by any means, e.g. the prismatic blur stratagem, that invulnerable save is also worsened by 1. Now, I think Tuesday's game against an absolute fucking idiot running Votann in the form of Mr. Bromley would have probably been over in 2 turns if it had 5 up invulnerable save. I'd have just died.
Have they had the points decrease?
No. No. The points have stayed the same unless you liked the Mirror Architect ability, which is now up to a flat 60 points as an add-on. Compute this for just a moment.
Because they've only got 1 wound. They're hardish to hit, but the problem is you only run them in 5-man units. So a Space Marine Intercessor squad putting out 10 shots is going to kill like 2 anyway. But they're just going to wipe the unit now.
Oh, they're just going to crumple. They're just going to die. Harlequins just die now.
Yeah, I think if they put them down to a 5-up invulnerable save, I feel like they should have had a massive points decrease. Because if you look,
or you give them the luck dice back to give them more 5-up rerolls.
Because can you find out how many points a Harlequin is?
Yeah, I can. I've got the points in front of me.
You can find how many points. Because I have already looked at the points for.
What do you want? A Harlequin player?
A Harlequin player.
13 points a model with no weapons.
With no weapons.
So he's just got his normal Harlequin's blade, which is strength 3 minus nothing, I think, but you get an extra attack, and his normal shuriken pistol, which is strength 4 minus 1, 6s to wound, minus 3, 1 damage.
So a witch is 10 points.
Yes.
It has a 6+ invulnerable save in the open.
Yes.
But when it gets into combat, which is where it spends most of its time, is on a 4+ invulnerable save. Has got 4 attacks because it's got 3
so
base.
He's a player, yeah.
But then they've got combat drugs, which can give them +1 strength, +1 toughness. Then -1 AP, and on a 6 to wound it goes up, so they go to -2 AP. So a unit of 10 is nearly the same points as like 6 of those, and they will that's a problem. That's not good. Because it wasn't a great trade-off for a unit of if a unit of 5 witches goes into a unit of 5 Harlequins.
Witches win now.
Witches win every time.
Yeah.
Even if the Harlequins swing first.
Probably.
And you can't leave combat from the witches because the witches have got shard net. Well, they've got an ability that stops you from bets.
Harlequins. I was talking with the team about potentially ignoring that particular bullet point when we're not playing Arks of Omen. When we play Arks of Omen, we're going to have to use the full balance data slate. That's the only way we can truly reflect the current competitive 40k. And we're thinking about adding some of that to the channel in the future anyway.
Like Jan says Dark Eldar are better now than Harlequins. Good point.
Easily.
I didn't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm now back to I want to learn Drukhari again.
I actually think a good Harlequins player, like a really good Drukhari player, beat most Harlequins players anyway.
Yeah.
But that's like people that live and breathe Drukhari. Now, those people that picked up Harlequins because they were broken are going to lose every time to a good Drukhari.
What? Do you know what? The other thing that annoys me about this as well. So it's already flat bad because it's just nerfed.
Oh,
I think that
which is really good at killing space marines.
Harlequins are Harlequins are nerfed into oblivion. The only limited edition book I ever bought. This is
what, the Brom broke.
The Brom broke. This is a paperweight now. There's multiple changes to Harlequins. I'm about to go into the multiple changes to Eldar.
Oh, Banshee's better now.
Banshee's it's good job I'm painting some. Yeah. I have really enjoyed going back to the Harlequins in the last few months, and I haven't been walking games and absolutely decimating anyone on the channel with them. Now I feel, and we're going to do it. I'm going to put them on the channel with this new change to see. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay. I have to say this to you guys categorically, right? We did used to play test. I am a previewer. I'm just one guy. I'm just that one guy.
Should we redo the Harlequins guard game?
No, I'm just that one. I'm just one guy. This is just opinion based. All of this is opinion based. And when the stream is over, I would actively encourage all of you to drop your opinions in the comments below as well. I'm more than happy for all 260 of you to completely disagree with me. More than happy. Just don't be rude about it. That's all I care about. Right?
Yeah.
Azayani.
Or if you are rude, direct it at him.
Hail of Doom has remained the same. Hail of Doom is the 6 explode with shuriken weapons.
It's not, you don't get another.
It's all consuming essentially still, okay. And Power Storm has basically stayed the same, so it does less mortal wounds essentially. Matches Agility is a reroll rather than.
Is your Nightbot asking for memberships now?
If someone puts exclamation mark snipe B, it does, yeah.
Oh.
So change the second sentence of match agility strategy to read. Use a strategy when you're shooting phase after rolling the d6 to determine how far an Azayani unit from your movement makes a battle focus move. Reroll that d6. It used to be just a flat 6, okay. Empower Storm, you can only use that stratagem once, that's fine. What it looks like to me, that's Eldritch Storm, obviously, is they did do Fire and Fade once per battle. That's been removed. So you can use Fire and Fade.
Oh, that's good. Because that was silly that they took that away.
Yeah.
Because it means that Harlequins can do it more than once now.
Well, they fucking need to, because they're going to need to use a lot more cover now than they ever did before.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Chaos Space Marines changed the second bullet point of the Experimental Enhancements Legion trait, which is Creations of Bile, to read, each time a model of this trait is destroyed by a melee attack. If that model has not fought this phase, roll 1d6. On a 4+, do not remove it from play. The destroyed model can fight after making... Because, you know, being able to automatically fight on death is completely turbo broken. So they've removed it from the Dark, they've removed it from Chaos Space Marines, just left it for Votann. That's fine. Adeptus Mechanicus.
Do you know what Votann have got?
What?
Armour of Contempt.
They have! Votann have still got Armour of Contempt, and Berserk still fight on death automatically. Brilliant. Well done, GW. Add core to Cataphron Breaches and Cataphron Destroyers, you know, so they can sell those new Christmas boxes that still haven't sold out yet. Change the Bionics ability on Adeptus Mechanicus datasheet to read models need to have a 5+ invulnerable save. This affects the following units: Skitarii Rangers, Vanguard, Cataphron Breaches, Cataphron Destroyers, Servitors, Iron Strider, Ballistarians, and Sidonian Dragoons. So they go up to 5+ invulnerable save from a 6-up. Need to sell those Christmas boxes. Tyranids have basically a whole page of changes. Don't buy codexes anymore, chat. Honestly, fucking rip off.
So I still think Tyranids are good. Because the good thing about Tyranid players is that no one ever paints them in the right colour anyway.
No, well,
so
good.
You can just
right,
flip
clear my
and flop
throat.
about.
Firstly, big shout out Carl of Hodgie for gifting the first membership for this stream. You're a hero. I love you very much. There are lots of grey names in chat, so gifters get sniping. And John, Quins are also... Quinn Solo are dead. Talk to me about Ynnari. I think now... I said previously with the changes to Harlequins that the best way to run them was in Ynnari. I now think that's more true than it ever was before. I stand by that now. That's definitely where I would
My
go.
only downside to Ynnari currently is that for every non-Craftworld unit you have in your army, you have to have a Craftworld unit for.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes away from that... Because I was like... 30 Banshees, 30 Incubi, 30 troops. Done. But now I have to take, I don't know.
So now I think
Rangers.
because now I think that Ynnari is going to be predominantly Drukhari and Craftworld, and I don't think you'll see Harlequins anymore. I just don't think you will.
Only those narrative players that take a patrol. For old school reasons.
But I don't think you can do that anymore.
You can. If you're a Drukhari or a craft role player,
cool. Right.
you can take a patrol.
So Tyranids, Joe. Add the following to the rare organism's detachment ability. If your army contains one or more Hive Tyrant, he has to be a Warlord. So no more making a Neurothreat the Warlord. I think that was already there anyway. Synaptic Imperatives has changed. Basically, your Warlord has to be on the battlefield, which they had already made that change in the previous balanced Dataslate anyway. When playing a match play game, players cannot swap out their adaptive element of their Hive fleet at the start of each battle. Instead, you've got to basically write it down on your army selection sheet. So you know you have that tradable piece of your Hive fleet adaptation. And they specifically brought that in to be super narrative, so you can adapt your Hive fleet depending on your opponent, and then remove that for competitive play because it was too powerful. Who didn't see that one coming? Change the first bullet point of Leviathan. Each time an attack is made against a Synapse monster, 1 to 3 fails. So Transhuman is only on Synapse monsters, stops it from being on the Zoanthropes because it was too powerful on Zoanthropes, but you won't see them too much more now than 70 points a model anyway. Also removes it from Warriors because they were Synapse creatures that had Transhuman in a troop slot. They don't get that anymore because they're not Synapse monsters. Change the first bullet point of the Reaper Obliterax. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, if the attack successfully wounds the target suffers a mortal wound to a maximum of 3. That was already there. Change the sentence in the Overrun stratagem. You'll love this one, Joe. Change the second sentence of the Overrun stratagem to read, select one Hive Tendril core unit from your army that made a charge move this turn. No more using Overrun on Hive Tyrants with wings. That's now gone.
I think it makes sense. I think Games Workshop have just pinned down the fact that the flying Hive Tyrant was the most broken aspect of that codex.
And then delete the last sentence from the following abilities: Seed, Spore Mine, Cyst, Seed, Spore Mines, Biovores, Harpies, and Spore Cysts. I don't know what that is, but it deletes the sentence. This means that units cannot create Spore Mines or nuclear Spore models for free. Reinforcement point. Oh, okay. So the only reason why anyone would ever use Spore Mines is because they were free. You now have to save reinforcement points.
I don't
for
think
them.
I've ever seen Spore Mines on the table.
That's a nerf that didn't need to happen. Who works at Games Workshop? Honestly.
Madmen.
Honestly.
Nerds.
Someone, whoever sits there at the moment mashing the buttons for balanced data slates is deaf, dumb and blind. Adeptus Veritas, change...
Can I go back to the Tyranids thing quickly?
There's a whole... This is like... Chat, right? All joking aside, this is all Tyranids changes. How did that codex go to print?
Do you know what's mad? From those changes, Tyranids are still good.
Oh, no, they are.
They're still very, very good.
Until we look at the points of things like Zoanthropes. I mean, Tyranids are still good. Zoanthropes weren't the thing winning people games.
No. I think, like, So the good thing about that is that you can now take 2 Hive Tyrants in a detachment in the new Arks of Omen thing. Yes, Zoanthropes are more expensive, but now you don't have to take troops. You can take a Nid army with no gods. That's the painter's dream.
Well, we were doing that anyway, which is Warriors. Warriors are still really good. Warriors have gone down in points, I think.
Warriors are really good.
I think they're down to 11 points a model.
Warriors, 11 points?
No, not 11 points.
You're on drugs.
No, hang on. Wait. They've gone down. I'm sure they've gone down. What were they before, Joe? Do you remember?
30 points, because it was 90 points for 3.
I'm sure they've gone down.
I'll double check.
Tyranid Warriors. Oh no, they're 30 points still.
But you have to pay for their Devourers.
The Death Spitters are up now, 5 points. Yeah. Okay, I thought...
So they're 35 points a model. How much have they put the points up for Lash Whips and the
Bone Sword is 5 points.
Oh, now they're getting expensive.
Lash Whips are free.
So if you've got the current build, so with the Devourer, Lash Whip, Bone Sword, they're now 40 points a model, which is 120 points for 3.
So Sororitas changed it. I'm not gonna. Like again, I agree with you. I think with all of those changes to Tyranids, they're still a very strong faction, which just shows you how ridiculous the codex was.
If you look, obviously, when Art of War do their little rating armies now, which they'll probably do later on.
Check out Art of War on YouTube. They'll probably do it with this out, and they basically.
What's happened is Harlequins are going to go, and then Tyranids will just stay exactly where they are because they're still good.
Adeptus Sororitas changed the first bullet point in the gaining miracle dice section of the Acts of Faith ability to read at the start of each turn you gain a miracle dice. I don't know. Although Sisters, one of the things that made them so good wasn't necessarily their ability on the tabletop, it was their secondaries, and they have seen a change in secondaries, which are in the Arks of Omen detachment. We're not going to go through all those today because we'll be here for fucking ever. Necrons, another huge amount of changes because when they came out, they were just terrible.
And they continue to still be terrible.
Command protocols, you don't need a noble, you just need Necron character.
Oh, that's good.
This is no change from previously. So command protocols used to be you had to have a Necron noble to get access to them. He had to be on the tabletop, and you had to have your Necron units within range of a character unit to get your
If I'm 100%,
Command protocol.
if I'm 100% honest, that sounds actually quite narrative. That makes sense.
They've got rid of the noble character, the noble requirement for just Necron character. The penultimate sentence, which was where you had to be in... Anyway, until the assigned command protocol stops being active, while a unit is eligible to benefit from it, he just gets it, so you don't have to be ranged of a character anymore. Replace the last paragraph with... Then select one command protocol that's not been assigned, and you get that for the whole battle as standard. And if it's your command protocol that's for your specific dynasty, you get both sections of that. That hasn't changed. You add core to the following data sheets: Canoptic Anchor Thrites, which is the Imperial Armor Compendium, Canoptic Reanimator, Canoptic Spiders, Canoptic Wraiths, Flague Ones, Locust Destroyers, Locust Heavy Destroyers, Ophidian Destroyers, Scorpec Destroyers, Trike Praetorians, and all Necron vehicles gain core, excluding character. So blanket core for the whole army, which is what they had before anyway.
But they've just
Taken it off the Silent King.
Yeah, because that was mad.
Change the second introductory sentence to the Ancient Dynasties rules to read: unless you select the Vassal Kingdom or Eternal Conqueror's dynastic code, you can also select an additional. So Eternal Conquerors, everything OBSEC, all consuming now. You don't get your pre-game 6-inch move. So that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, because I've played against a couple Necron lists that's just warriors and scarabs. And it's I've lost every single game, yet it is still the most tediously boring game of my life. Because they just move forward onto objectives, automatically get their secondaries because they're on the 3 central objectives, and then you kill them through drudgery. Yeah. And then the next turn, they just move more onto it.
Simon says, how do people keep up with all the rules? It's no wonder I don't play. Joe and I do this as a job, and we struggle.
My favourite question is, what's in the box on the wall? Heretic Dave's response: Stephen Box.
We called that Stephen Box to start with, and actually I think factually it probably appeared on more streams in 2022 than he did. We do this as a job, and we struggle to keep all the rules. It's hard.
Lightning Creep says Abaddon's got 250 points, which is what he should have been to begin with.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Abaddon is an Imperial Knight that you can't target, and he's very good at killing everything. I mean,
Ginger Steve says, has anyone else noticed that Games Workshop sent out Fabius Bile models in all the 40k supply crate boxes, then needed Disciples of Bile, Great Troll GW?
I mean, I don't want this to turn
the nerf Disciples of Bile, that's supposed to say, obviously.
I don't want this to be a complete rant about Games Workshop's choicey decisions, but I did say when that box set came out, as a joke within every group chat, that was like, oh, the supply. I was like, they're just clearing stock.
This is good.
This is amazing.
And the Arks of Omen stuff they've showcased so far for boarding actions is good.
Oh, I love the new rules.
Well, we're saving the positive and getting the ranty stuff out the way.
I mean, it's just the ranties part will take up most of it.
Unfortunately, it will, yeah. So that was Necrons. Custodes, Adeptus Custodes, changed the third bullet point of detachment abilities to read: Adeptus Custodes core infantry and Anathema Psychana troops units in Adeptus Custodes gain OBSEC. And if I remember rightly, for Adeptus Custodes, and thankfully because we're in this fancy studio, Abrom's taking the Codex home. I think he's taking the Codex home.
I believe all their infantry and bikes. I think it's anything that wasn't tanks got OBSEC originally.
So now I think that this means that Terminators.
Is it all?
Adeptus Custodes core infantry.
That means
Valerius Custodian Terminators have got OBSEC.
Do you know what that also means? I'm very excited about.
The Forgeworld Terminators get OBSEC and the Birdmen.
And the Birdmen!
Yes.
Which means I can...
Gordon's is alive.
I'm going to get my Birdmen out of the box, get them built and painted. I've been selling this out for fucking ages. I'm getting the Birdmen out. I need someone to 3D print me a tiny little Brian Blessed head. And it's on.
So I think, if I remember rightly, and I haven't got the codex because Brom took it home, the bastard, I think that this means that Valerius Custodian Terminators in the book gain OBSEC, but characters don't. This is where it should...
It also means they count as their OBSEC 2 models as
when
well.
they do these nerfs, and when they did the first set of nerfs for Custodes, and when they released the last balance Dataslate, they had playtesters still. Who doesn't see that as a problem, that only Custodian Guard get Terminators? But yet again, if it does mean Valerius Custodian Terminators do get OBSEC, Custodian Terminators get OBSEC, Death Guard Terminators get OBSEC, Thousand Suns Terminators get OBSEC, Chaos and Space Marine Terminators don't. I don't understand the choice.
Because they're less cool.
But they should. Surely all Terminators get OBSEC is better, right?
Because Terminators is just the best unit in the game.
Yeah.
All Terminators are amazing.
No, I don't agree. But I think that you need a consistent approach.
Apart from the Grey Knight ones, I don't like those models.
But yeah, I think that means. I mean, that's good for Custodes. That is the only thing in the balanced data slate. That's it. Right, that's all you get. Oh no, hang on. Change the Adeptus Custodes keyword and ordinances on the Arcane Genetic Alchemy Emperor's Auspice stratagem to read Adeptus Custodes Infantry. So the Arcane Genetic Alchemy and Emperor's Auspice is transhuman and turn off rerolls, but that's on Custodes Infantry. That's fine. I'm okay with those changes. It's not one that's used.
Is that because they just want people to stop running bike-only armies?
I mean, the bikes, I don't think are that incredible. No. They do become incredible with shut-off rerolls and transhuman, but I still don't feel like. I've also given Brom 5 boxes of Custodes Terminators and be like, build those because this will be fun now. And I think it could still be fun.
Not for whoever plays against them.
No, I don't, because it's single models mostly. It doesn't. I don't think it's.
I'm going to build a lot more Vanquishers. Dead Terminator. Dead Terminator.
Yeah, okay. Orks. When mustering an Orks army, it cannot include more than 3 of each of the following models: Boomdacker, Snazwacken, Custom Booster Blaster, Megatruck, Scrapjets, Rocket Truck, Squig Buggies, Shock Jump Dragsters.
Do they need that rule still?
Yeah, I think they do. I think if you lifted that, they would still be oppressive, especially with the new detachment ability.
I suppose so.
I think it'd still be oppressive. Change the stage 1 and 2 effects of the Wardery. Stage 1, call a War Orc core character units from your army eligible to declare a charge if they advance. Add 1 to strength and attacks characteristics models from your army, and you get a 5+ vulnerable save. That's just good now. And it isn't staged. Stage 2 stage 1 is that of the standard war. Stage 2 gets stuck in. Add 1 to strength and attacks characteristics models from your army, and you have a 6+ vulnerable save. So I think some of the abilities last longer and they get a bit more. That's
not
fine.
bad.
That's cool. Orcs. I think because of the new Arks of Omen detachment, they do need to limit the buggies. That's not what annoys me. What annoys me, and you'll notice already a theme, there's a lot of rules that are written into codexes, essentially new rules, or things that are introduced into codexes that you kind of expect, that then just flat aren't usable. So, if we look at Valkyries, you can take them in squadrons, apart from you can't, really, because the new Arks of Omen detachment allows only 2 flyer slots. And so you take one of each slot, you have no need to use the squadrons. You might as well never put the squadron ability in the codex, unless you're playing narratively, of course, but most of us will stick to balanced Dataslate, because the whole point is, it's supposed to add balance to games of 40k. Same with Rocket Truck, Squid Boggies, etc. They're in squadrons, so you could take 3 of... The whole point in squadrons was, we've limited you to 3 data sheets, competitively, but if you take one of each data sheet, like your Sentinels, you could take 9 Sentinels, can't you? Because you take 3 units of 3.
Yeah.
And this, they might as well not be in squadrons at this point, I feel. Anyway, that's that. That seems okay. Orcs still decent enough, and with the Arks of Omen changes to detachment cost, etc., slightly better place. Yep. Still start off with 6 CP, but no cost now. If you don't run a battalion or a patrol, you still start with your full 6 CP.
Yeah.
So it helps them out a little bit. Not massively, but a little bit. Tau Empire, saying that, one of the things Orcs used to do is run 3 patrols, and you can't do that anymore, because if you take an Arks of Omen detachment, you can't take a patrol detachment of Orcs with it.
No.
So you can't run 3 units of truck boys.
Are we going to talk about that now, or are we going to talk about it? I really like it.
Later.
We'll talk about it. Okay.
Basically, Orcs wanted to spend CP to run 3 units of truck boys, you still can't do that. Yeah. Tau Empire, changed the second bullet point of the Montcar ability to read each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack that targets the closest eligible enemy unit within the range shown in the table, reroll a wound roll of a 1. Change the first bullet point of devastating counter-strike fast-light enclave tenant to read each time a model that tenant makes a ranged attack that targets you within 9 inches, it treats itself in a marker light. That was 12 originally in the codex, so that still stays the same for the last balanced data state. Remove the core keyword from broadside, I believe that was also in the last balanced data state, and add the following to the repulsor field impact and photon grenade stratagems. The charge roll modifier incurred via the stratagem is not cumulative with any other negative modifier to a unit's charge roll. Right? It's pretty understanding changes. I believe previously Cal Yon, which gives you an extra AP, I think, or something like that, was removed. Now they've got that back.
So you don't get Armour of Contempt?
Is it Cal Yon and Montcar? Have I got the code?
It's when you fall back. I thought it was the one where you fall back and shoot, wasn't it? Where you get the extra AP.
I've got the book here because we're very lucky they send us most of the books because they're awesome. So Montcar, if it remains, it counts as remaining stationary. So Montcar, this is what. So originally Montcar, each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack that targets a closest charge enemy unit within range shown in the table below. Improve the AP of 1, reroll a wound roll of 1. That now is just reroll a wound roll of 1, so it moves the AP. That's fine. No, okay, so we're good. I thought it gave the Montcar AP back, but it doesn't.
Good.
Fine. Happy with that. That's fine for Tau. That's all the changes.
All right,
that's the end of the balanced data state, Joe. That's it.
That's it.
That's everything. So you'll notice nothing for Leagues of Votann. That's it. Done. The Leagues of Votann nerfs are currently on their FAQ, because why would you put all the rules in one place? You might as well put them in multiple places just to keep people really confused.
Do you know what I wanted to see in this balanced data slate? I've been asking for it for the last 2 editions, right? Is if you buy models from Forgeworld, some of which are in plastic now, right, and you put them in your army, if you're not a Space Marine, you just pay the points and you put it in your army. If you are a Space Marine player, you have to spend a CP for every unit to go into your army. Why do I have to pay a CP to take a Leviathan Dreadnought? It's my favourite Dreadnought. I've got 2 here and I've got 2 more at home. Possibly even 3 more at home to build and paint. And it makes me sad because I like the Dreadnoughts and Forgeworld, and I have to spend free CP if I want to use them, and it really upsets me. But they've released the Proteus Land Raider now for Heresy, which if you buy it and you want to put it in your Heresy army, you have to run it as a normal Land Raider, not as the Proteus one, because that costs you CP. It really grips me.
Elias says Votann got points increases. They did get points increases, but they got no other rules. So their rules change that we saw that was done before the codex was even released. Again, good job. Who proofreads this? Stevie Wonder proofreads it. So the point that they stopped 6s to, or anything hitting a judgment token no longer auto wins as a 6.
Well, I think which is a good roll, but I kind of feel like a 6.
It's a good change. However, it invalidated a lot of what occurs in some stratagems and stuff. Anyway, it's by the by. They did see a points increases in places, not massive. They're now tweaking, but they're still a feels bad army. They're still an army where you can do things that I just can't stop.
Well, let's be honest. If Brom's beating you on a regs, do you need a battery charger?
No, it's all right because this is now dead.
Is it? I can get the thing off the thing.
Let me see this one now for the chat.
Oh.
So we've now read what we needed on my iPad for balanced data slate. So we now can use this for the chat, and we've got the book. It's perfect. See, Joe, we're good.
All right. I really like this. I'm a big fan.
So firstly, we're going to say a huge thank you to Paramedieval for gifting 5 memberships. You're a legend. And a big thank you to Liberty Fires for gifting 5 more memberships.
If that turns off because the battery dies, will it just cut off the stream?
No, because it's managed remotely through that PC. Don't worry about it. Magic, Jay.
You live in the future.
Magic.
I own a phone, and that is my computer.
Magic, Jay, right? So, thank you for the gifted memberships. If you've been gifted a membership, ! Discord in chat. Come and join us in the Great Hall. Come and hang out with us. Throw abuse at me and Jay. We love it. Lehman Russ says, do you want a massive Chaos Space Marine army because my World Eaters will no longer work? It'd be worth about £3 on eBay now. So,
but to be honest though, out of all the armies that exist within the realm of Warhammer, Chaos Space Marines is the one army that we do not need more models of. Right?
And that doesn't include all my stuff.
So that's some of mine. That's not all of mine. And I've got more underneath the table.
Thousand Suns.
Liam's got 2 more trays of Chaos Space Marines. And I've got about 2,500, 3,000 points of unbuilt, unpainted Chaos Space Marines in my house.
It makes me sad, Joe. I love Chaos Space Marines, and Space Marines in general make me sad. And so I've started doing, shameless plug right now, right? I've started doing reels on Instagram because, no, don't worry, don't panic.
You TikTok dancing?
I'm not just putting on a crop top and letting my long hair down and then getting
That's how you get more views, show some flesh.
What I'm doing on Instagram is I'm using reels as like a Dear Diary thing. So on my morning walks now, I do a second reel. So today, for example...
Dear Diary, Games Workshop touched me in a bad place.
Today, for example, I started my top 5 changes I want to see in 10th edition, right? And the first one I did today was talking about AP and the AP system and how we make Marines great again, right? Shameless plug, like I said, because I want people to go and watch it and follow on Instagram and stuff. I've got goals, 30,000 subs this year, 10,000 on Instagram, and a membership goal that I don't like to tell people because I don't like to tell people where I'm currently at.
I already got like 1,500 on Instagram, but I only post pictures of models.
Thank you, Liberty Fires. He says, good morning. Morning, dude. And Ricky Chow, thank you. Mirror Architect returns to being an aura for fair for the 60 points. Oh, I did miss that. Okay.
All right.
I missed that. That's better. In that case, it might be worth the 60 points. That might not be so bad if it is in fact an aura.
Talking about Chaos Space Marines, actually, do you know I have got at home, which I've been wanting to paint for ages and haven't bothered, right? Is I've got 20 Night Lords Forgeworld Raptors.
Yeah.
Which I've just kind of poo-pooed for a while because I was like, I'm not wasting my time. But Raptors are good. Now Armor of Contempt is gone, Raptors actually kill Space Marines now.
Yeah. Raptors are Warp Talons.
Raptors, because they're -1 AP.
Okay.
So because there's no point running them because they're useless versus other Space Marines. But now they can kill Space Marines.
So Ricky Chow, I think actually I've missed. And this is the problem. So talking about what Simon said earlier in the chat about how do you keep up with rules. This is the problem. I completely missed that Mirror Architect had gone from selecting one unit and is now back to an aura because they just keep changing rules. So as a lot of people don't realise is when you work on a channel, people kind of expect you to know everything in depth all the time. And I run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I run 6 armies, so 6 books from here. Which also means you need to know all the balanced data set stuff, all the FAQs, all the points changes.
But even I still miss stuff for Chaos Space Marines that I've been my favourite.
But the problem is when in one balanced data set they take it away from you, the next one they give it back to you, and the next one they modify it.
But they don't tell you what's gone.
That's the big problem.
Yeah.
That's the big problem, is they don't show you what's been removed and they don't show you what's been added. And I said to them, part of my feedback that I gave them in my week off when I had a meeting with them because I was so angry about some of these changes, is I said to them, when you release a balanced data slate, like you've just done, with all of the balanced data slate changes on it, that's fine. And releasing that as a separate PDF download document is fine. But surely it would take one of your monkeys in head office at Nottingham 5 minutes to take each of the balanced data slate pieces from the respective factions and put it on their FAQ. So if I'm a Tyranid player, what I should be able to do, theoretically, and I don't feel like this is hard because it's just PDFs, it's just making PDFs. They're not printing anything, they're not producing anything, they're not physically bringing anything out. But if they take their new balanced data slate, copy it, and paste it onto the back end, so you have FAQ, you have errata, and you have balanced data slate in one document for that faction, that means if I'm a Tyranid player, I can grab my codex, I can download one PDF, and I've got everything I need.
Do you want me? I'm going to say something wild. Wild now. I think codexes should be free.
They make too much money for that to ever happen from them.
Because, right, so if you buy a codex, you get a physical copy, right? And you get a code to the ever incredible and ever reliable Warhammer 40k app, where if you type in the name of something, it doesn't actually find it. If you don't put a capital letter in or hyphenate it in the right place, it doesn't actually find it. But it gives you access to the app, and the app actually changes to the FAQ. So they've done something right. So, but the problem is that the FAQs and the balanced data slates that they put in only updates your free copy of the codex on the app, which you only get access to by buying a physical one. But the moment they change it on the app, the physical one is redundant.
We've talked about this on Talking Head streams for ages, Joe.
Right. And if you buy one of these 5 supplements, so Scars, Fists, Iron Hands, Raven Guard, Ultramarines, we're missing Salamanders. So you buy one of those 6, right? None of the rules in that book are right.
No.
None of them.
Still currently for sale, I think, as well.
So I kind of feel like they should be free. Although they are currently free on the app.
So they won't ever put these out for free, for the simple fact of the matter is they make too much money off of them. They just do. They just make too much money.
But then,
however,
but then make all the rules on the app. So I prefer having a physical book in front of me.
Yeah, agree.
I don't like reading the app. I only go to the app because it's faster than finding stuff in the book. But I think the app rules should be free. If you want a physical copy, you buy a physical copy, but the rules should be free.
The problem is the rules is the bit that's always going to be the bit that sells.
Yeah.
And by putting them behind paywalls, you're essentially making sure your books sell because people want to buy the rules.
So that you buy it on the app then.
Because competitive players would never give a fuck about buying all the narrative and stuff. No. As much as I don't disagree with you, they make too much money from books. The only thing I can honestly suggest to people out there in the wider world is that you start to vote with your feet. So I know for a fact that when the Votann box set was released,
you hold the pens in your fingers.
When the Votann box set was released, there was a number of people that when they nerfed them before the box had even actually been sent out to people, they then sent them back. They said this now is a wrong publication. You can have it back. I've already opened it, but you can have it back because within 14 days of purchase or whatever, blah blah blah, they invalidated it.
Yeah,
and this is happening all too common. This is all too common that they're invalidating stuff in no time at all. And if we look at this balanced data state, like I said already, there is so many that I can 100% forgive odd interactions that they go, oh, we didn't see that. I can 100% forgive that. In a game with 20, 30 factions, and however many data sheets per faction, and you look at factions like Space Marines with fucking hundreds of data sheets in there, yes, some things are going to slip through the net and not be good enough or be too powerful. I think we all accept that. Yeah. And as narrative gamers, we definitely accept that. And as a narrative gamer, if a Tyranid army turns up to tabletop and is very hard to beat, narratively I'm okay. If that particular Tyranid army curb stomps me in 2 turns every single game because it's that powerful, narratively I'm not happy with that.
No.
We've made the conscious decision, I think, for the narrative tournaments, not narrative tournaments, that's the wrong word, the narrative events that we're going to be running this year, where they're all linked, that we're probably just scrap balance data state, just get rid of it. So you can actually just turn up your codex and play 40k. Because I just think that's better for everyone in general. And people like last night on stream, people going, what do you mean I can just turn up with 1 book and play 40k? Exactly. So I don't disagree with you, Jay, but the only way we're ever going to stop it is if someone buys a codex, it's invalidated within a certain time frame, they just send the fucker back and say, give me a refund.
What if you buy it off the shelf and it's already wrong? If I go into Games Workshop now...
They shouldn't, this is the thing.
And buy a supplement.
They shouldn't be allowed to sell it if it's wrong.
Okay.
Should they, logically? No. With the, it's okay because you can just download the balance data slate and the FAQ and the points changes.
They've got to print new ones when they sell, don't they? Theoretically, you have to print a new book when you once you sell the old ones.
But this is where but they don't update the actual book itself, because updating books is actually complicated and it requires an imposition process. And if you want to get really bored about printing, just ask Brom to talk to you, because that's what he project manages, is printing projects. But again, what happens when you buy? Say you went now and you bought the Tyranid Codex. What do you need to go to a Warzone, Arks of Omen? What do you actually, theoretically, what do you actually need, Jay?
Well, I need that book.
So you need the Tyranid book. Where is it?
Where is it?
Where's the Tyranid book? Here.
There.
So you need Codex Tyranid. That's the first thing you need, right? What else do you need to play at Warzone?
You need that.
Yeah, you need that. What else do you need?
You need the supplement.
You need the supplement.
Yeah.
For.
You need the. There is a supplement for. There is one of these supplements, isn't there? One of the Rift, not Rift, or Critical Mass, one of the Vigilists, one of those books.
Let's just say it's this one. I don't think it is this one. Let's say it's this one. So you might need a supplement for extra stuff. What else do you need?
You need your army list, which has to be printed out.
You need your army list to be printed out.
5 times.
We won't worry about your army list for now. But what else do you need to run?
Rulebook.
That's in here.
Oh, that's all right.
They actually went back to putting the rules back in the codex in the Warzone, thankfully. You need your, and I'm gonna use spare books to reference this now, because I'm going to show how ridiculous it is, but this would be a printed single page of A4. So these will represent single printed pages of A4, right? You need your points changes, Minotaur and Field Manual, you need your FAQ and errata, and you need your balanced data slate to play 1 book.
Yeah.
That's what you need, to play 1 book.
Oh, and the Forgeworld book.
And potentially the Forgeworld book as well.
If you're running a Dema.
Why these 3 separate sheets of printed A4 can't be imposed as a PDF as a single document for players. So they go into the FAQs and downloads, they go to Tyranids, they download that document, page 1, errata, page 2, FAQ, page 3, points updates, page 4, balanced data state information. That's all you need.
I mean, they could put it on the app.
Don't get me started about the fucking app, either, Joe. That's all you need to run. It would then be this and this, and arguably 1 sheet of, or 1 printed document. That's where people should be. And I also feel like when they do balanced data slate stuff and they update things, it's just not clear as to what it's replacing and how it's replacing. No. When it says change the first sentence to read, I just want you to show me the paragraph as it now reads. So I can look at it and go, oh, that's there. Okay, it's easy now.
Yeah.
It gets too confusing. Lehman Russ, I need your help to stay motivated in the hobby. Don't worry, we will continue to be having loads of fun playing 40k. Yeah. Because on to Warzone Chapter Approved and on to Arks of Omen.
We are going to do some competitive streams, aren't we? I think.
Yeah, because I'm excited about playing this.
Yeah.
So although the balanced data slate is balked and it's all over the place and it fucking hammers my Harlequins, which I love, and doesn't do anything to Votann, which are still too good, and hurts everything in power armor because of armor of contempt, I am still very excited about this, and there's a couple of main reasons why I'm excited about this. Right, they've done a lot of tweaking to secondary objectives, which is interesting. So some of the auto-take secondary objectives that were too good have been toned down. Some of them still not toned down enough.
I still think the Necron ones are still.
Yeah, they are very good. And some of the other secondary objectives are just not ones that you're probably going to take. I still think there's too many secondary objectives, if I'm honest.
The guard ones, terrible.
They are terrible. But this is the new chapter-approved Arks of Omen's Grand Tournament Edition, right? And this is, in my opinion, quite good. There is some questions that are going to have to be answered. They're going to have to FAQ this document. And the reason being is because they've brought in some new ways of building your army, which is the bit that got us the most excited. And namely, we're talking about the new Arks of Omen detachment. Detachment cost is 0 CP. Okay, if you're playing Warzone Arks of Omen, and only Warzone Arks of Omen according to Games Workshop, you have to take at least one Arks of Omen detachment. At least one and only one Arks of Omen detachment.
Yeah. And the only other detachments you can take is a super heavy auxiliary detachment and a patrol.
Yes.
So you have access to no other detachments.
But you don't need any other detachments.
No.
Because of the way this is built. Okay? So muster armies. Each player starts with 6 command points, but the inclusion of some models in your army can increase these. These can be spent to purchase requisition stratagems. Okay? So requisition stratagems are where you buy like warlord traits, relics, etc. Okay, also to be used for stratagems during the battle. Players can only give models in their army relics or warlord traits if they have used requisition stratagem to acquire them. Both players have access to the warlord trait and relic stratagems. Some people have said that means you can only get one warlord trait and relic. No. The warlord trait and relic stratagem on the right hand side of that page is how you get your first one, and then you can go to your codex to get number 2 and number 3.
Yeah. So these replace the free ones you used to get in the rulebook. Yeah.
It then goes on. Each player must include one and only one Arks of Omen detachment in their army. This is a detachment that is bespoke to this mission pack, so we shouldn't be using it for Tempest of War, but we might.
Yeah.
When you include this detachment, you must select one and only one of the stacks of compulsory battlefield roles and select the requisite number of units with the designated battlefield roles to fulfill the detachment's compulsory requirements. I'll explain further in just a moment. For example, if you select elites to be that detachment's compulsory stack, you would have to include 3 elites units to fulfill the detachment's compulsory requirements. If you look here, you can't see it very, very clearly. You have a HQ choice at the top. They have shown this on the community page, so I can do this to you people. And then you've got troops, elites, fast attack, heavy support, and Lords of War. So you have to take a HQ detachment, and you pick one HQ slot. You pick one of these 3 and take 3 of those types of units.
This replaces the old Vanguard Outriders
Spearhead, but the detachment cost is 0 CP, so it's free. There is a caveat: if this detachment is an Imperial Knights or Chaos Knights detachment, it does not require the HQ compulsory slot. Okay, so this is how they've made it replace everything. After you've added an Arks of Omen detachment to your army, you can choose to add one allied detachment to your army. This must be either a patrol detachment or a super heavy auxiliary detachment. See the Warhammer 40,000 core book. You can only include a maximum of one allied detachment in your army. The command cost of any such detachment is always 0 CP, and its command benefits are always none. You cannot include any understrength units in an allied detachment, and you can only include an allied detachment if its faction is a permitted allied detachment for your Arks of Omen detachment, as described in the Battle Brothers section on page 8.
So that's good. So the patrol is free. So you don't have to spend 2 CP to get that second lord in your army.
So you can take an Arks of Omen command detachment, and then you can take a patrol detachment alongside it, and so far you spent no CP.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yes.
So you can take an Arks of Omen Orks attachment and an Orks patrol detachment and get 2. No?
No.
No. Oh, well, no. With the exception of units of the troops or detachment battle, I know, by the way, I'm just on the wind-up. With the exception of the troops or dedicated transport battlefield roll slots, basically you're limited to 3 of each data sheet, which is we've known that for ages, right? Each player must provide a copy of that army roster before the battle begins. You've then got 3 stratagems for a single CP each: Warlord Trait, Relic, and Heroic Support. Warlord Trait, Relic is the same as the last one. So you spend a CP for your first Warlord Trait, you spend a CP for your first Relic. You can then go to your Codex for your additional requisition stratagems to give you your additional Warlord Traits and your additional Relics. But the new one is Heroic Support, brand new for Arks of Omen Grand Tournament. Use this stratagem before the battle when you are mustering your army. If a detachment ability, excluding Gene Sect, would limit the number of times you can include a unit in that detachment to 1, you can include a maximum of 2 of that unit in the detachment instead. You can only use the stratagem once. So, for example, Chaos will say you can only have 1 Demon Prince because of jealousy, infernal jealousy or something.
So jealous.
Tyranids can only take 1 Hive Tyrant,
yeah.
right? That single CP stratagem means you can take a single Arks of Omen detachment for 0 CP, spend 1 command point and have 2 Hive Tyrants in your army list, right? Yeah. That's good, I think.
I think that's really good.
Removes the troops tax for having to take...
Yeah, it means that, so for NID players who wanted 2 Hive Tyrants, you'd have to spend 2 command points to get a patrol, to get a second Hive Tyrant in their list, and they have to spend the troops tax of a unit of warriors.
Yeah. Now, if we look at the actual specific Arks of Omen detachment, all units must be from the same faction, and that faction cannot be Imperium, Chaos, Aeldari, or Tyranids. The detachment cannot include any understrength units. Okay, that's fine.
Yep.
That's pretty standard. You've got 1 HQ is compulsory, and then either 3 troops or elites or fast attack or heavy support or Lords of War. Then we go into the optional sections. So let's say we have picked 1 HQ, Joe, and we've picked 3 elites, right?
Yeah.
You can then take 0 to 9 additional troops choices, 0 to 3 additional elites choices, 0 to 3...
9 is mad.
Well, if you take 3 troops and then an extra 9, you can take 12 troop choices. Massed guard, infantry, here we come. Right? You can take
120 Cadians.
So you take 9 troops, 9 additional troops, 3 additional elites, 3 additional fast attack, 3 additional heavy support, 3 additional Lords of War, 3 additional HQ, and you've already got the compulsory one, that's up to 4 now, from 3 from a battalion, 2 flyers and 3 fortifications. Okay? Then there's an extra piece where you can take 0 to 3 additional elites, but only characters. So you can take a HQ, 3 elite choices of Terminators, 3 elite choices of Blade Guard, and then 3 elite choices of characters, like a Banner and Apothecary.
Yeah, because I've been writing like Blood Angel, Flesh Terrors lists, and I got my 3 HQs, got 3 units of Blade Guard, 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, because I like symmetry, and I was like, I can't put a banner in now.
Dean says, does that work for the Orc War Boss? Yes, it does, sir. So the only other restriction is dedicated transports. You can include 1 for every infantry unit in your army.
Which is good.
Which is fine, because dedicated transports still have the rule that if you don't deploy them with an infantry unit inside them at the start of the game, they are destroyed.
Which makes annoying sense.
It does.
As someone who likes chimeras, it's a bit annoying. But
Chimeras. It does make sense. We then go on to the new Battle Brothers part. Bear with me, chat. Okay. If your Arks of Omen detachment is an Imperium detachment, you can include 1 of the following as an allied detachment. 1 Agent's Imperium Auxiliary Support or Patrol, 1 Imperial Knights Super Heavy Auxiliary containing 1 Freeblade, or 1 Votann Patrol detachment. Maybe this is how they're fixing Space Marines, Joe. Remove Armour of Contempt, but give them access to 2 land fortresses.
So, what's mad, right, about that whole concept, okay?
Yeah.
Right? So I can take a Space Marine Captain. I can take 3 units of Intercessors, right, in my Arks of Omen detachment. So my army is Salamanders.
Yeah.
Because my main Arks of Omen detachment is filled with Salamanders. And then the other 1,600 points of my army is a patrol of Votann.
Yeah, and unlike the Demons one, it doesn't limit you to a percentage.
No, so you can go curb stomp a bunch of people, but yeah, I won with Salamanders. Top of the league with Salamanders. Look at me.
Look how good I am as a Salamanders player.
Yeah, with all my Votann.
With all my land fortresses. It goes on. So Aziani or Drukhari can take a Harlequin's patrol. Astra Militarum can take a Militarum Tempestus patrol as an allied detachment. Genius of the Cult can take Brood Brothers patrol. Chaos can take Chaos Knight. World Eaters can take Legion Demonica with Khorne. Thousand Sons can take Legion Demonica with Zinch. Death Guard can take Legions Demonica with Nurgle. Traitor Astartes can take Emperor's Children, Legion Demonica or Sinesh. Traitors Astartes, Emperor's Children can take Legion Demonica Patrol. Legion Demonica. So here's the other part, right? Legion Demonica can take Traitors Astartes Patrol, Chaos Knight Super Heavy, etc. Here's the other thing. So now the whole page in the Aeldari Codex determining how you can add a patrol of Harlequins in, gone. The piece in the Demons Codex telling you how you can add, or the Chaos Space Marines Codex about how you can add patrols of demons, gone, because this now supersedes it. So we, yet again, invalidating more content in codexes, right? We then determine our mission. We then read our mission briefing. We won't go through the missions. I quite like them. I think they're pretty good on the whole.
Not bad.
Place your objective markers. Create your battlefield. Determine attacker and defender. You roll off. The winner is the attacker. The winner decides who's the attacker and who's the defender. The defender selects your deployment zone. The opponent uses the other deployment zone. You select your secondary objectives, okay, as usual. Both players have written down secondary objectives that will use in the battle. They will then reveal them, so it's done in secret. Declare reserves and transports. Both players secretly note down on their army roster which units are in strategic reserve. In an Arks of Omen Grand Tournament mission, a player does not have to spend any CP to place the units into strategic reserve. It's free.
Oh, it's free now?
It's free, yeah.
Oh, I didn't read that bit. That's very good.
While which of the units from their army will start the battle in a location other than the battlefield? If a player has access to any stratagems that wish to blah blah blah, it's all done, all noted down secretly. Which of the units within the army will start the battle embarked within transport models?
I suppose that makes sense actually, because now planes have to start in strategic reserve. You'd have to spend 2 CP to then put your.
They
planes
must
in.
specify which units are embarked within which transport model. In an Arks of Omen Grand Tournament mission, each unit from the army with a dedicated transport battlefield roll stop must start the battle with one or more friendly models embarked within it, or it cannot be set up and will count as having been destroyed for the first battle round. When both players have noted down their selection, they then declare them to opponent. So you secretly do all of that stuff and then show them. This is what's in transport, this is what's in strategic reserve, this is what's in deep strike reserve, etc. Right? No more than half the total number of a player's army can be in strategic reserve or reinforcement units, and the combined points value of all strategic reserve and reinforcement units must be less than half of the total points value of a player's army, even if every unit in the army has an ability that will allow them to be set up elsewhere. In Arks of Omen Grand Tournament missions, strategic reserve and reinforcement units can never arrive on the battlefield in the first battle round. Any strategic reserve or reinforcement unit that has not arrived on the battlefield in the third battle round counts as being destroyed, as units embark within them, etc. Now, this is the bit that confuses me. Drop pods.
Yeah.
This specifically states, Arks of Omen Grand Tournament missions, strategic reserves and reinforcement units can never arrive on the battlefield in the first battle round. Strategic reserves and reinforcements.
So as we've been taught by the evil teacher that is Games Workshop sometimes, that never replaces any rules that stop you. So for instance, like infiltrators stop things from deep striking in.
Having said that, drop pod assaults. This transport must start the battle, set up high in the skies, but neither it nor any units embarked within it are counted towards any limits that are in the mission you're playing, right? This transport can be set up in the reinforcement step of your first, second, or third battle movement phases, regardless of any mission rules. Okay. So which one takes precedence?
Yeah.
I would say for drop pods, I'd say Codex trumps.
But they always say that new rules supersede old rules.
I would say Codex trumps, but I don't know. Big thank you to Benjamin Dutson. I don't think I can take any more. The cost for an army I can no longer use. I'm actually seriously devastated. I feel cheated, absolutely robbed. I said thank you before I read that. That's sad. I'm hoping that we can still entertain you and you can go, actually, I still want to play 40k.
I was in a bad place competitively about a year and a bit ago. It's just so like tedious, and it can really like run you down chasing the competitive scene. Since coming on here, playing Warhammer for fun with my friends, we don't care who wins or loses. We just want to play.
Apart from Brom, who really wants to win.
Apart from Brom and Paddy, who's
and
just
Chris.
the gamiest people I've ever met in my life. Apart from those people who must win all the time, otherwise they have a tantrum, but we still love them and they're our friends. I just want to play with cool armies that I've read about in Black Library books. So
Matt Clare Music. Crew have gone up in points. This feels like a personal attack for his whole Crew army.
I mean, who was setting the world on fire with Crew?
Dawn's Apothecary says, I want a Blood Axe patrol with my Astra Militarum. Liam, please make Talking Heads with Joe a regular show on the channel. You guys are the best. I mean, we can do more of these.
We can do. I'm here early on a Thursday anyway.
Yeah, we normally film for DZ.
But what's important about this new detachment thing, with the patrols, that people need to understand, is that you can only put the armies that they say here in the patrol. So because Tyranids aren't mentioned on this page,
they don't take any allied detachments.
No. So what I like about Arks of Omen, apart from the Votann thing, which I think is madness, right, is that now, competitively in terms of balancing, everyone is only using the same detachment.
So, and that also means that a NID player now can take an additional Hive Tyrant for a CP, and he doesn't have to pay the troops tax, but can only ever take a maximum of 2.
Yeah.
So, two war bosses, 2 Hive Tyrants, 2 Demon Princes. You can arguably take 3.
So, I kind of want to play Drukhari again because of this. I kind of went off Drukhari for a while.
But
mainly because I sold the army, and then the army that would.
How does this work now with your 3 patrols of Drukhari all gaining your separate benefits? You wouldn't, would it? Would you?
Well, it doesn't. But, right, so there's a book here with the Drukhari name on it, right?
That's the one.
That's the one. Right, if I was a Drukhari player right now, which I am, I'd be very excited.
Would you though?
I would. So, right, there's the raiding forces, which allow you to take your triple patrol.
Yeah.
Right? You take troop patrols.
But you can't do that anymore.
Because you can't do it anymore, right? So what you do is you take a real space raid now. So the reason why people weren't taking real space raids is because everything has to be in one detachment. You have to take an Archon, who has to be followed by a unit of Cavalry Warriors. You have to take a Succubus, who has to be followed by Witches, and you have to take a Homunculus, who has to come with Racks, right? So in an old battalion, those are your 3 HQ slots, which means there's no space for Drazar. D-Drizzle can't come along, so it means you have to put him in the patrol detachment, and that sucks. So the reason why people like taking triple patrol means you can take Drazar, he's your warlord, and then you've got 6 other options for HQs, right? But the great thing about the real space raid is that the Archon gives all core and blades for hire units, which includes Drazar, because he is a blade for hire, and that includes Incubi and what are they called, Mandrakes and Scourges. He gives all of them reroll 1s to hit because they're all core. Right. So now you can have everyone in one detachment. Your Witches all get reroll 1s. Your Racks all get reroll 1s. And if you take him as a Blackheart Archon, you give him Rid of the Living Muse, which gives all those core units, although all of the Cavalry units and all of the Incubi, because you're going to run 30 now, with Drazar, reroll hits and wound rolls of 1. And they get +1 to wound from Drazar.
Seems like an oversight.
I mean, it's really good now. I'm very excited.
So it does, as we say, it does mean that you've got 1 detachment Arks of Omen, nothing else, unless you're taking specifically the allies. There's some things I don't like about it. Like, I don't understand why you can take a Votann detachment as a patrol detachment to Space Marines, but you can't take a Space Marine patrol as an allied detachment to Astra Militarum. Doesn't make any narrative sense. I don't.
Guard can't take another Guard detachment, but they can take Scions. But Guard can't take Votann.
So, but Guard taking Scions as a patrol detachment, I like that.
Yeah.
I'm actually excited about something like that. I think that's kind of cool. And most of the other, genuinely, almost all of the other Battle Brothers things they put in there, I'm okay with. Yeah. None of it doesn't make any sense. Necrons only get an Arks of Omen patrol, but you get more options in that Arks of Omen detachment. You get more options in that detachment, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Tyranids the same, that's okay. Orks the same, that's okay. I'm okay with all of these changes. The only one that makes no sense to me is going, yeah, Space Marines can take Votann. It seems like we've taken Armour of Contempt off them. We've fucked around with their points and their special war gear. We've given them. We need to give them something. I'll just give them Votann because they're an auto win button anyway. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And in Votann narratively, in the Votann narrative, they have been known to work with the Imperium in the past.
Imperium, but not Space Marines exclusively.
Yeah. Votann can work with the Imperium. That means they should logically better work with Adeptus Sororitas, Guards, Grey Knights. They can't work with anything. It's just Adeptus Astartes.
Inquisitors.
So, but the other thing is, why can't any of the Imperium all work with each other then, if that's the case?
Yeah.
Like, why can't... And I wouldn't like a Space Marine Arks of Omen detachment with a Guard patrol, but I would like a Guard Arks of Omen with a Space Marine patrol. That's narrative, because there would be less Space Marines than there would be Guard.
Yeah.
That is narrative. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Doesn't happen. It can't do that.
Yeah.
Or a Space Marine Arks of Omen with a Custodes patrol.
Yeah.
Narratively works. But they've done none of that and gone, you can take Votann, a Xenos faction, according to the GW website.
Yeah.
So
angry. You're like the Victor Meldrew of 40k.
Reckless, Tower 50% win rate, but only get nerfs. Yeah, I know. This doesn't make this for me. This genuinely feels a little bit like let's fuck this up as hard as we can before we release 10th edition.
So
how do we make 10th edition look better? We make 9th the worst we possibly can before we release 10th edition.
Obviously, you don't want people to be only playing one army. So 8th edition, Space Marines are up here and Harlequins are down here, and so are other armies. You want an ever fluctuating level of who's good at the time.
From what perspective?
Money.
From a sales perspective.
From money.
Correct.
Because
Exactly.
it means that everyone's bought all of the Harlequin boxes that we've had sat in warehouses for ages, and Tyranids, we needed to get rid of all those carnifexes that were sat around. So basically what they've done now is gone down. Everyone buys Space Marines anyway, because they're like the entry point for Warhammer, isn't it? Is Space Marines.
Arguably.
And Necrons, because box set. So now, my look at this is that Drukhari, massive winner. So you might see that a lot of people will flock from Quinn's Tyranids to Drukhari, which means that they're going to sell more.
Yeah.
Which means that the people that are currently Drukhari players that had a little bit of a good time when their new book got released, and then they got hit really hard and they went down. But now they've gone back up again, which means that people will go over there. And then eventually they'll come down, and well, Scots will stay up there for a while, but then maybe sisters will come up. You want a constantly fluctuating thing, because then otherwise everyone just plays the same army.
Because of what we've seen historically, I feel like this is just a constant, as we get towards the end of edition, it's fuck it as hard as we possibly can.
Yeah.
So when we release a new one, it just looks so good because we fucked the last one so
Because the
hard.
problem is...
That's the cynic in me. I don't think they're actually doing that.
Because the problem is, right, balance, complete balance and equilibrium within the world of Warhammer is boring.
It's impossible.
It's impossible, but it's also boring.
It is boring.
Because everything's just like, meh, like it's 50-50, who cares? But if it's constantly changing, exciting, we all talk about how great it is and how lovely it is. And it is nice to have your army better than someone else's army for a while, you know? And there's sometimes where there's some people that play, there's some armies that are just more popular than others as well. What are you doing the Dark Angels for now?
I'm interested.
That new Ezekiel, with the new Azrael model came out, and we've got a lot of heavy intercessors sat in my house now. And we were going to do them as Imperial Fists, although as Imperial Fists or Iron Hands, they're not bad.
So someone in chat said, where is it? Whereas Ravenwing will stay in Devastated Doctrine for +3 movement, advance and shoot, and get a 4+ invuln. Yeah, okay. So Dark Angels, Ravenwing, right? Dark Angels detachment is one that includes Dark Angels units, agents appear and blah blah blah. Such attachment is also an Astartes detachment and gains the Astartes detachment abilities. Ravenwing units and Dark Angels detachments that do not already have the Jink ability gain the Jink ability. Okay? Yeah. Deathwing and Inner Circle units and Dark Angels detachments that do not have the Inner Circle ability gain the Circle. If every unit in your army has Dark Angels keyword, has the Combat Doctrines ability. If every unit from your army has Dark Angels keyword, Dark Angels. Okay, this is where it's interesting, right? Because it's not. If every unit from your army has the Dark Angels keyword, the Dark Angels Vanguard detachments that only contain models with the Deathwing or Inner Circle keywords gain first command company. See right. If every unit from your army has the Dark Angels keyword, then Dark Angels Outrider detachments from your army gain the Ravenwing second company ability. So if we go across the second company ability, Bike Squad and Outrider squads gain OBSEC, and if your Warlord is part of the detachment command benefits change to +3 command points. Well, you don't get OBSEC. That's gone.
So what's going to have to happen, because competitively, Outrider and Vanguard detachments don't exist anymore.
No, so what that means is...
This is going to have to be a day one FAQ.
So first company and second company, which is basically OBSEC,
doesn't exist anymore.
is now gone. So yes, you'll get your +3 inches to your Ravenwing for movement, but you'll lose OBSEC.
So I imagine the Saturday, when this comes out, because it won't be this Saturday, because it goes on pre-order this Saturday, so the Saturday after... there'll be an FAQ, I would imagine. We don't know this for reals. I imagine Dark Angels will get an FAQ. Drukhari might do, because the triple patrol thing.
So Alan says Dark Angel FAQ makes it work with the new detachments. I'm just going to switch out here quickly.
Live on the internet.
Live on the internet, because this is what we like to do to people. This is the bonus of this is why it's a live chat show. We're learning. This is the problem that I'm finding, right? So instantly I got the points wrong straight away for Space Marines, and you all told me off. But this is my issue, Joe, is that there's so much now. Detachment abilities, change them to read. If every unit from your army has the Dark Angels keyword, Dark Angels Arks Omen detachment, and Outrider detachments that only contain models of the Ravenwing keyword gain a second ability. So if your whole Arks Moment is Dark Angels Ravenwing, you will still get OBSEC.
Go. Fixed. There you go. Because
if your wall is part of hang on, wait one. Detachment abilities, first company, second company, second section points. If your warlord is part of the detachment, this detachment command benefits are changed to +3 command points unless the detachment is an Arks detachment. Okay, yes, they have fixed it. I'll give them credit where credit's due.
Actually, that makes them. Oh, right. So the chain. Oh, actually, Dark Angels got real good then.
That's quite.
Because.
Oh my god.
Don't they get They get a bonus, don't they? If they're in a specific.
There's so many FAQs out already now.
Hang on.
Space Marines, Joe.
Wait one, caller. Because you get a bonus. What's your tactical devastator jobber doctrine?
I don't know, mate.
All right.
I don't know or care.
So.
Well, there's FAQs for every fucking army now as well. Jesus Christ.
I can't remember which doctrine it is you have to be in to make them good. Because like now, because you can stay in the Devastator doctrine forever. The Talon Master is very good now.
Very good.
He's 3 Talon Masters Oh
no.
Suit you, sir. We're doing Ravenwing now. We're not doing Dark
Oh,
Angels.
for fuck. Why are we doing Ravenwing now?
Samael,
Yeah.
right?
What about him?
Because he's cool. He's a Ravenwing
Is he
dude.
though?
He
Is
is
he?
cool. Samael and 3 Talon Masters,
Okay.
right? 3 Talon Masters puts out 36 Strength 6 -2 shots.
Oh, there's
a turn.
there's another update here, Joe, that I've just found. Buried.
Oh, yeah?
Page 363, rare rules. Ignoring wounds versus rules that prevent models from ignoring wounds.
Oh, yeah?
The fact they have to have a rule about this just proves how
Oh,
broken
so
this is.
basically we're talking about...
Some models have a rule that say they cannot lose more than a specified number of wounds in the same phase turn battle round, and that any wounds that would be lost after that point are lost. Similarly, some models have a rule that reduces damage suffered by a stated amount, e.g. Duty Eternal. In any of these cases, when such a model is attacked by a weapon or model with a rule that says it ignores enemy models cannot use rules that ignore the wounds it loses, that rule takes precedence over the previous rule. Hang on, wait. In any of these cases, when such a model is attacked by a weapon or model with a rule that says that enemy models cannot use rules to ignore the wounds it loses,
So if a Dreadnought...
that rule takes precedence over the previous rule. And if that attack inflicts any damage on that model, it loses a number of wounds equal to the damage characteristic of that attack, even if it has already lost the specified number of wounds already this phase turn battle round. That's a change.
So that means that Khan effects and Dreadnoughts don't get -1 versus like the Nurgle...
So the way we used to play it, chat, just so you guys, let's go back to chat actually quickly. The way
That means it ignores Mark of Zinch as well.
So Mark of Zinch is irrelevant now against models that ignore. So if you've got so Reaper of Obliterax,
Yeah.
which ignores wound caps, Mass Hammer from the E-Champ that ignores wound caps.
The Guard Banner, which is a 6-inch aura for core. Oh my god! So there is a banner for Guard where it confers ignores damage on all core units in 6.
So originally,
Cards are gonna terrify
things
it.
like Duty Eternal, which made something change by -1 damage, or things like Mark of Zinch, which changed the damage characteristic to 0, because they didn't specifically ignore the damage, they just reduced it, you still got the reduced damage.
Yeah.
That's now gone.
Yeah.
Oh my.
That means that Bloodthirst is terrifying now.
Yeah.
He ain't really good.
Yeah.
He's a problem.
That's
That means the Reaper of Obliterax just is even more Reapery than Abyssal.
yeah, Abaddon's in trouble. Because because Abaddon had the 3 wound cap per phase, but relied on the fact, well, I still make the first one damage 0.
Yeah.
Not anymore. So we were looking at the maths of Mass Hammer E-Champ going into Abaddon and going, you get 1 through, it is D3 plus 3 damage, and the second one comes through at D3 plus 3 damage, but the first one will make damage 0.
Yeah.
And you don't get that now.
No.
He just bonks.
He's a bit of a bonker, isn't he? That's the problem.
Okay, that's a big change. I just went through the FAQs to find that one buried change in that FAQ.
So that means it ignores that's even all the half-wall damage. That's quite good.
Rare rules, add the following. Rules that dictate wound allocation order. Some character units have abilities that dictate which models wounds must be allocated first, e.g. the Silent King's Triarchal, Menhir's, St. Celestine's Gemini, Chaplain Grimaldus' Servitors. When such unit suffers mortal wounds, those mortal wounds are allocated in the same order that attacks are allocated. That also makes sense. That stops the janky situation because mortal wounds are added at the end, where they just go on to St. Celestine, etc. Okay. Jesus Christ. That one change to things like Dreadnoughts and Duty Eternal. So that's another nerf to fucking Redemptors and Space Marines.
It's not enough to... hang on. Invicta Warsuits, because I didn't have it in the first place. Right?
Dakota, thank you for the super chat. You're a hero. So much for buff to my sweet, sweet swordy boys. Pain and suffering is all I know. At least Black Templars look more durable on accident. 3 wounds and 2 damaged swords.
So basically I wrote a list in my mind. It's 18 Blade Guard and 30 Vanguard Vets with Storm Shields and Thunder Hammers. Because it ignores all the current rules that have currently been changed, and most of it's free. You don't care about, and then you just have a banner with
Dats and
then you take them all as Iron Hands, because then you get 6 up Feel No Pain.
Dats and Des says,
Yeah.
I think Death Guard keep their reduced damage because they reduce the damage characteristic instead of reducing damage. Oh, that's interesting. This is a problem now.
We'll get books out now.
This is why I like doing it in front of the community live though. This is cool.
Because we learn
Because
together.
you guys go, how about this? And we go, oh, well, let's have a look. So where's the detachment rules? It depends what codex you look at. They're all in different places. So after, keep going.
No.
Keep going. Yeah, keep going.
That way.
Detachment abilities. It's probably not even on here.
No, Rex of Decay, Death Guard. Not here.
No, keep going then. Maybe it's further on.
How dare they put them in the Army's Universal Special Rules?
Abilities, plague, malicious volleys, disgustingly resilient. Each time an attack is carried into the model, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of that attack. Well, that's the same as Duty Eternal.
Is it though?
Some models have a rule that reduces damage suffered by a stated amount. Reduces damage suffered by a stated amount. Where's Duty Eternal? Have a look at Duty Eternal. Find a walking sarcophagus, JJ. Any of them will do.
Redemption, not because everyone's got one. Each time an attack is allocated to this model, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of that attack.
Each time an attack is allocated to the model in the unit, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of that attack. So Duty Eternal is the exact same as Disgustingly Resilient, so you don't get Disgustingly Resilient against rules that ignore wounds now.
Because that specifically says Duty Eternal.
It says some models have a rule that reduces damage suffered by a stated amount, e.g. Duty Eternal. So I'm sorry, Dats and Des, your Death Guard don't get Disgustingly Resilient versus Wolves for weapons that ignore damage.
Hang on.
Oh no! Oh no, team!
So that kind of makes me a little bit sad, right? Because now there's so many. There's a relic in every codex that gets released nowadays that does that. Like the Nurgle one here. I'm just gonna.
Oh no.
So once per turn, the first time a saving throw is failed for this unit, the damage characteristic of this attack is changed to 0.
So that's the same. So you don't get that. You don't get Mark of
No,
Zinch versus...
subtract the damage. So that subtracts. That changes the damage characteristics.
So the wording says some models have a rule that says they cannot lose more than a specified number of wounds in the same phase turn battle round, and that any wounds that would be lost after that point are not lost. Similarly, some models have a rule that reduces damage suffered by a stated amount. In any of these cases, when such a model is attacked by a weapon, so Mark of Zinch and Abaddon's ability might still work because it doesn't change it by a specified amount; it just changes it to 0.
It's not very clear. Because there's so many different versions. Who else has got? Who else reduces stuff? Tyranids.
Do you know what? I don't think you're going to get Mark of Zinch. I think because the bullet point they put after this is rules that say models cannot use rules to ignore the wounds they lose, take precedence over rules that say that model cannot lose more than a specified number of wounds in any phase turn battle round, and also take precedence over rules that reduce damage suffered by a stated amount.
Yeah.
Wow. That's fucking shocking, isn't it?
Very good, isn't it?
We've tumbled down a rabbit hole here. Right, back to Warzone Arks of Omen. Deploy armies. This is the bit where Auspex Tactics got it very fucking wrong. Players alternate setting up their remaining units one at a time.
So
okay?
after you've declared
all your secret stuff, so he said you deploy a whole army at once in his little video that he put out yesterday. Wrong. Yeah. The players alternate setting up their remaining units one at a time, starting with a defender. A player must deploy all their remaining units with a fortifications battlefield roll before deploying any other unit. A player's models must be set up wholly within their deployment zone. If one player finishes deploying their units, their opponent then deploys the remainder of their units, which would indicate it's take turns. Me, you, right? Unless stated otherwise, while setting up a model for a unit with a fortification battlefield roll on a battlefield, it cannot be set up within 3 inches of another terrain feature. If it's not possible, you can move obstacles or area terrain features to be able to put your fortification down. If a player
does it give you a minimum distance?
Well, it has to be within your deployment zone, I think, now.
Not all fortification
are created equally.
Well, because what you could do, where is it?
So basically, you can set it up anywhere that's not within 3 inches of a terrain feature, and if you can't, you can remove one obstacle or area and terrain feature that is within your deployment zone on the battlefield in order to make room for the fortification. If by doing so, it's still not possible to set up the fortification, replace the terrain feature, remove this fortification cannot be deployed and counts as having been destroyed. I don't think you'll get it down, because even if you remove an area terrain feature, you're probably not going to be able to get it down.
No, you don't remove it. You move the other piece of terrain.
No. If it is not possible to set up a fortification as a result, a player can, in an Arks of Omen Grand Tournament mission, remove one obstacle or area terrain feature that is within their deployment zone from the battlefield in order to make room for their fortification.
Oh, so you remove it. Well, so
if by doing so, it is still not possible to set up the fortification, replace the terrain feature removed, and this fortification now cannot be deployed and counts as having been destroyed.
Oh, it's 11.5 inches. It won't fit in a 10-inch deployment. Oh, sorry, Sky Shield.
Okay, determining the first turn, the players roll off, the winner takes the first turn, resolve pre-game abilities, restart the battle, end the battle, determine the victor, etc. etc. Now, ending the battle or conceding, ideally a battle should always be played until the end. On occasion, though, one or both players may not be able to or may wish to complete the battle. If both players agree to end the battle early, then at the end they can mutually agree points.
What?
Yep. If both players agree to end the battle early, then they can end the battle at a mutually agreed point. We suggest at the end of the battle round, the players can calculate the final victory points totals, taking into account any objectives achieved so far to determine the victor. If one player wants to end the battle early, that player must concede and remove their models from the battlefield. Their opponent is the victor. Okay?
Does it say how many points their opponent scored?
No, that's gone.
So
That's gone.
If you concede, does your opponent only get the points that they currently scored up to that point?
It doesn't. So it used to say you just get 70 points if your opponent concedes. It doesn't say that anymore.
Yeah.
So I guess that's up to TOs now.
That have to be put into tournament packs because what some dirty people were doing in team events, for instance, if they knew that their opponent had to score 80, 90 points, right, in the game for their team to win, they just concede. You only get 60, 75 points. So that's something that needs to be addressed because having a fixed score or just your opponent gets 100 points or the maximum amount of points that they could possibly score based on what secondaries that they currently have available to them.
Kai now says, I'm convinced 10th needs a hard reset. We need to say a massive thank you to John McCardle.
Thank you, John McCardle.
For 50 gifted memberships.
You're an absolute beautiful beast.
Well, an absolutely beautiful beast.
We love you a long time.
Apparently, Big Bad Allspecs got it wrong because the Warhammer Plus team did it wrong. Were they playing Arks Omen Grand Tournament or were they playing Arks Omen Abaddon? What were they playing? Were they playing boarding actions or were they playing Grand Tournament?
What? They wouldn't have played the new one before the...
Well, they do. They like to get their content out before everybody else now. It's the only way they'll get anyone to watch it.
Makes sense. But maybe they only had one model in their army. Maybe they're all running knights. I haven't seen the battle report.
Kirioth, welcome, buddy. Love you. Imagine sitting someone down who's just bought their first art collecting and explaining that. I know, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. The game's a mess. There's no if, buts, ands, or mains, bees. The game's a fucking mess right now. And I said this on my call. So I was talking to my guy at GW and I messaged him and said, 10th edition is currently a complete fucking mess. He went, that's a bit harsh. I went, no, it's not.
9th edition.
Same thing, yeah, probably. I said, it's not harsh, and that's why we had the call. I said, it's a mess right now. If you try and bring a new player into the game right now with the current state of balanced data slates, FAQs, points changes, rare rules, rules that ignore rules that ignore rules, rules that ignore rules that ignore the rules that ignore the rules, and then more rules that ignore the rules that ignore the rules that ignore the rules that ignore the rules, it's just too much.
Do you know what we should do?
And invulnerable saves that can't be ignored by AP weapons, but then rules that ignore invulnerable saves, but then invulnerable saves that don't get ignored by rules that ignore invulnerable saves because they're a different type of invulnerable save.
We should go play ball action.
I want to play some ball action.
I love
a lot.
Action.
So I agree with you. This is the problem I have on the whole. Again, we've said this a few times. We still have loads of fun on the channel because of who we get to play with. We're very lucky in that regards.
We do curb it. Well, we tried to curb Paddy, the list tailorer. But we because sometimes we'll go, that's probably a bit strong. Maybe you should tone it down, because obviously as we're streaming a game, we stream from 7:30 till 10:30, unless Brom's playing, and then it's like midnight. But so sometimes like we need this to last a bit longer.
Yeah.
So don't curb stop your opponent, but also at the same time, this has to be fun and enjoyable to watch.
Bigger Pepper says, I'm brand new and building my first army right now and I feel like my brain is exploding. This is the problem. Someone said, Dats and Des has correctly said, to be fair, new players probably won't play the GT pack though. The issue we have, mate, is a lot of the content out there is typically focusing on the GT mission pack. And so there isn't a great job done in general right now of explaining that there's multiple ways of playing 40k and that you can start. And there is, I think, still free downloads on the website, which give you introduction to 40k all the way through to full sets of rules.
Yeah.
They do exist, and I know you can definitely get them via the old command boxes and stuff like that, the Space Marine Necron boxes. If you really want two terrible armies, you can buy those.
This actually has the basic rules, and they've actually printed rare rules in the back as well, I believe.
Joe's still salty about Paddy, says Lightning Creep.
They've still, so they've got rare rules in the back as well.
Yeah,
Right. So the thing is, I still think, even if you're a casual player or you're a new player getting into the game, you're still going to play this, because you finish work at 10. Well, no, you say you finish work at 5:30, 6:30, 7 o'clock, right? And you go into your mate's house. So you go. You pick up your army, probably not on a tray, be in a bet case. You go to your mate's house, you're tired, you're both tired, you're just eating. You're like, let's pick up and play a game. You're going to play this, because this is what everyone's playing, and it's easy to use. Because you're not going to play Crusade.
You're not going to play Crusade.
Because you have to play...
Fucking hell,
to play Crusade, there's a lot of admin. If you want to pick up and just play a game, you're going to play this, because it's laid out for you in a much nicer way. I think the balanced data slate, although it does slightly bend over Space Marines a little bit, it makes other armies good. Like, one of my main complaints for the Chaos Space Marine Codex, right? It's majoritively -1, -2 AP. There's not a vast amount of -3 plus in that book. So if you go up against another Space Marine army with Armor of Contempt, most of the stuff for the Chaos Space Marine is just terrible.
I agree with a lot of what you just said. Okay,
Yeah.
in terms of what you're going to play. So I thought, let's have a look at the rulebook, okay? Because this should be although now wrong, and that's why we have it reprinted. And I will give them some credit. When they reprint the rules in here, they reprint them with the changes normally.
Can I be honest? If you're starting the hobby now, it's not likely to own this book.
No. Well, you can buy it separately, can't you?
You can buy it separately,
but you probably wouldn't. So I was like, what options do we have if you have picked up the rulebook? If you've picked up the rulebook, what options do you have to play, right? You have 1, open war hostility. There's not a lot of rules in there specifically. 2, open war hold at all costs. And 3, open war death or glory, right? So you have a corners, a weird deployment, and a long table edges. You've got some narrative stuff. Cool. Okay, straight to match play. This is your open war missions. This is it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages. Is all you've got, right? To play open war, basically. Straight into match play. Match play in this is as bad as this, really, because it's still Eternal War missions, it's still secondary objectives, it's in progressive and all that kind of stuff. And then we go to narrative play, and narrative play apparently in Games Workshop's eyes is just Crusade. It's the only way to play narratively, which is flat wrong. So, if I was bringing a brand new player into the game for the first time ever, do you know what I'm going to tell them to play?
Bolt action.
No, Joe. Do you know what I'm going to tell them to play, Joe?
Tempest.
Yeah. Tempest is what I'm going to tell them to play.
Tempest of War is what we play all the time.
Having said that, what do we play? What do we use in conjunction with Tempest of War? We use the latest points changes, we use the latest balanced data slates, we use the latest FAQs.
Yeah.
So even by playing Tempest, which is labelled in the Tempest of War deck as another way of playing match play 40k, that means you have to apply all the match play rules, which include FAQs, points changes, and balanced data slates.
Yeah.
So even Tempest of War requires us to use all the changes that we were talking about today.
Games Workshop, if you've made it this far through this rant, can we get more? Can we get an expansion deck for Tempest?
So people in chat are currently saying Open War. I just think Open War's flat rubbish now compared to Tempest. It's just not.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a way of playing. You can get the Open War deck.
My issue with Open War is it just turns into kill points.
Yeah, often, yeah.
More often than not. Whereas Tempest forces you to move, forces you to move around the table and do different things each turn, and it also means that each game you might do the same things because you have a fixed deck, but you're doing them in a different order. Whereas in competitively, you choose your secondaries and then you do the same thing for 2.5 hours for 6 games over a weekend. In terms of mission play, etc., I personally think the golden age for mission play was actually 8th edition. And so what you had in 8th edition was you had Open War, power level. I don't know why they're clinging on to power level. They should learn to scrap it, because have we ever used power level? I think if they got rid of power level, then that's a lot of resources at Games Workshop that doesn't need to be there anymore.
I don't know what...
They don't need people looking at...
Chat, tell me, do any of you actually use power level?
I know people that play power level.
Do you? Really? Genuinely?
I know 4 people that do it, but I don't know people. I don't know collective groups of them. I know Crusade.
So let's get rid of power level because it's pointless and it's just a waste of resources that we didn't. It's an attempt to try and go down the AOS route that just didn't work, right? And what we had in 8th edition was we had open war. It was power level still, but we had open war. We had match play, and match play wasn't match play secondaries and all the hyper competitive stuff. We had 6 missions that were.
They were Eternal War, weren't
they? They were Eternal War, essentially. They were called Eternal War. And then we had... I forget the name of it. No, I forget the name of it. It's in the rulebook. It used cards. Maelstrom of War.
Oh, Maelstrom of War.
Maelstrom of War. Maelstrom of War was mission-based perfection with some slight issue that we would... Winters and I, when we played it quite frequently, we would just house rule. That issue was very simplistically, if you drew a card that you physically couldn't do, so you're playing Black Templars, and I draw a card that says Kill a Psyker, couldn't do it, I just got a free discard.
I think that actually became an official rule.
Eventually, yes. Yeah. Maelstrom of War was the best way to play. There were 6 different Maelstrom of War missions, and that kept us busy for the whole of fucking 8th edition.
They actually brought into it an expansion through White Dwarf that allowed a certain level of deck building.
Yeah.
So it was something like a 60-card deck, but you could reduce it down to like 45.
And then the people in charge of match play rules and secondary objectives was Frontline Gaming and the ITC.
Which were external to Games Workshop.
External to Games Workshop. And they had their own set of balancing Dataslate type stuff.
Yeah.
The current beat rate. So I'll go on camera now and on record as saying that when they first announced that the current beat rate of balance would be every quarter, I was actually kind of positive about it. And I thought, this is good because they can fine tune and tweak quite frequently to try and keep that balance. In hindsight, I believe I was wrong. Because I think they're making too many major changes too frequently now.
But yes and no. I'm going to be difficult here. Yes, it's annoying because it changes every couple of months and it's very difficult to keep up with. But at the same time, because it changes so quickly, you can fix big problem armies. So armies that are too good aren't too good for a long time.
But that's what FAQs do.
But the problem with that then becomes, because some missions, some secondaries benefit some army builds, which means that those army builds aren't staying around for a huge amount of time, which is really, really good. But the problem is that sometimes they go a little bit too hard and just crush them into ground Harlequins.
I just think it's too messy. There's stuff all over the place and it's too heavy. It's a state. And for new people, for people that don't play as frequently as we struggle when we play weekly. Every week we play. You and I play once or twice a week every week.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes 3 times a week each of us will play.
Yeah.
And we struggle to keep up the rules. And we're always in the FAQs, the data slates, the codexes, and we struggle to keep up. For your casual gamer who does this as a hobby because they work a hard 9-to-5 job, and they come home and at the weekends they get one opportunity to go and play with their mates. And they're in America, so they have to drive 3 hours to go and hang out with their mate just to play 40k because that's the nearest 40k player that they know. And they go into his basement, garage, or whatever, and set up, and they've got to try and get to grips with these. I feel sorry for them. And when people come round to, when people are on the channel in chat or on Discord and they say, I've stopped playing, I'll still watch the videos, but I've stopped playing right now, I understand.
Yeah, I think now there is no positive reason to play more than 2 armies. And I think if you play, and I think now, even the because before, when I was on another channel, it was very important in competitive play to not only know your army, but know every army that you're going to play against inside out. So then you knew when you come to a table what your opponent can do, right? And for a lot of competitive players, that's just what you do. You have to know everything inside out so that nothing is a surprise to you, and that's exhausting, right? It was exhausting a year and a bit ago when I was doing it, and it's worse now, right? I think now the only way to enjoy 40k on a competitive level is to ignore everything outside of the army that you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get to the table, You just find out as you play.
I'm going to add a caveat though to that, Joe, that I think is where. So I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because in terms of your capacity as a player,
Yeah.
I think you're going to have to do that. But then what you open yourself up for is you come to the table against. So say you focus on, sake of argument, Astra Militarum and Aeldari, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to turn up. I'm only worrying about those armies. I'm not worrying about any other army can do. I rock up to the table with my Astra Militarum army, and I put it on the table. And what steps opposite me is a Leagues of Votann player. But I don't know what his stuff can do because I'm only focusing on my armies.
Yeah.
So I don't know what his stuff can do. And then you just have a feels bad game.
Yeah. But then you start to roam into levels of like you either have no interest in their army, you have a basic idea of what happens, which is probably the best place to be, maybe. After what I just said, having a very basic understanding of what some armies roughly do. But the thing is, though, the moment you get into the realms of having to know what every army in the game does, we've been playing this now for a whole year, right, on the channel, multiple armies for a whole year, and I couldn't pick up the Harlequins and run them. I've played against them multiple times, right, but I don't know their stratagems. But if you want to play competitively, you have to know exactly what Harlequins do, all their secondaries, right? All of their stratagems, and their FAQs, and their Dataslate changes.
But if the rules at the point in writing the codexes removed all this field, so what's one of the biggest forms of field bad for me personally? Stratagems. Because what I'm with you, and I agree with you, and I play against multiple different armies, and I couldn't pick up armies that I don't run. Paddy plays Tau. Paddy's playing Tau tonight on Chat Plays, right? Yeah. I couldn't play against Paddy's Tau and know what all of his stratagems do. Yeah. So I can do a thing where I can charge into combat now, and he'll go, oh, I've got a stratagem that says you can't do that. For sake of, and this isn't specific, obviously, to Tau. This is just in general, and I wouldn't have any idea. It's a feels bad moment, right? So that's the first way that we solve this problem is remove rules that create those kinds of feel bad moments. For me, one of those big ones is stratagems. I'd scrap stratagems. I'd get rid of them. I hate them. I don't like them. I don't want the CP system. I don't want stratagem systems. I think they're fucking dog shit. And I think they just add a layered complexity that has to be balanced. And I think that they just create feel bad moments. And what we also do is we're in a situation where I've got a good stratagem. Brom, on Tuesday, has learnt that he can use a Wargear stratagem for 0 CP with the Iron Master with his 25-point upgrade. By the way, he didn't go up in points. Fucking lunatics. And he can make that stratagem 0 CP and just do 2 more wounds every turn. So he just used that stratagem for 5 turns, right? Transhuman. We typically see Marine players using Transhuman 4 or 5 turns. So make stratagems. If you could do anything with stratagems, make them 1 use per battle at least. The other reason why feel bads exist in the game, however, isn't just related to stratagems, and that's this innate need in 9th edition, which I don't think typically, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we've seen this in any previous edition, but to create rules that shut off other army rules. It seems to be a 9th edition problem more than ever before.
So rules too many rerolls to hit. Yeah, but just make an army that turns off all rerolls.
Yeah, so too many rules that stop you from rerolling your hits. Too many rules that stop you from rerolling your wounds. Too many rules that ignore your invulnerable saves. Too many rules that ignore your rules that ignore wounds. It's just too much of it. And so I'm there playing Brom on Tuesday. I go back to Tuesday's game against Votann, and this is nothing against Brom. This is the factions. And I'm stood there with my troop master going, I might have a chance of taking that E-champ out. So I launch him across the board. I wait, launch him across the board. I go charging in. I whiff my wound roll, and I want to pick up and re-roll them all because that's the rule that I've paid for with the relic that I've got. And he goes, you can't re-roll wounds against me because I'm Votann. Now, if that was against a specific Votann unit, I'm actually kind of okay with it. Yeah. That's an army-wide rule.
Well, do you remember when they brought out permanent transhuman for Deathwing?
It still exists.
Well, it still exists for them, but the uproar, and how tediously boring it was as well to play against Deathwing. People that run 30 Deathwing Terminators are terrible. But
well, that was the auto win list back in the day.
That was the auto win list, and then they brought out Harlequins. You can't re-roll to hit us now.
Yeah.
And now they brought out Votann. You can't re-roll to wound.
The Harlequins. No, the reason why the Harlequins was worse is that transhuman where once you've hit us, you can only wound us on a 4+. What we're going to do with Harlequins is we're going to say you can only hit us on a 4+, and you can't re-roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Harlequins are the worst for it because like some units are -1 to hit. Some of them you could only hit them on a 4+. Some of them you can't. You can only hit them on a 4+ and you can't re-roll with versus them.
But this is like I say, right? We're taking vulnerable saves. We didn't used to have invulnerable saves years ago. Terminators roll saves on 2d6, and the only time a Terminator would fail a roll on a 2d6 is if you rolled a double 1. I was close.
You're quite close there.
Yeah, that would have been a pass Terminator armor save because it's a 3+, right? That was how Terminators used to roll saves. They changed it to a D6 system, so you only failed on a 1. But what they did is they gave them a 5+ invulnerable save, so that if you still got hit with a stupidly 2-up, like what was it, AP3 or AP2 weapon, whatever it was, that ignored Terminator armor, you still got a 5 invulnerable save no matter what. So invulnerable saves became a thing. Invulnerable saves then got given to so many units. You've got units all over the game now with invulnerable saves. Every aspect warrior unit has a 5+ invulnerable save. Blade Guard have got 4-ups. All Terminators have got 5-ups. Fucking invulnerable saves are everywhere.
Because of the AP system, the game is way more killy.
The AP system is one of the biggest problems in 40k, in my opinion.
I think like obviously Heresy still uses the old AP system, which I think is right. So that would be the old AP system is actually something that keeps Space Marines alive a lot longer without the need of something like Armor of Contempt.
So you know I talked about my Instagram reels and talking about my 5 things I want for 10th edition. I did the first one today, and the first one I said today was when the AP system changed in 8th edition and it went to -1, -2, -3. I was kind of positive about it, and in hindsight I was wrong. How do we make Marines more survivable? We move back to that Heresy AP system. So when you have an AP5 weapon, which is currently essentially what a Shuriken catapult is, because it's -1, so it would ignore. No, it'd be a AP6 weapon. So -1, it would be something that ignored a 6-up save. Currently, is agree, right? You agree? If you've got a 6-up save, you get hit with AP -1, you don't get a save, right? So let's call it an AP6 weapon. But I fire my AP6 weapon against your Space Marine. You don't stop from -1 to go for a 4+. You still get your full 3-up armor save.
Yeah,
that's why the old AP system is just flat better.
That's why like plasma guns and melter guns were super deadly because Space Marines didn't get saves. But then also, so when you look at things like Imperial Guard, a guardsman with a lasgun has no AP now. It didn't have AP then, which meant the Space Marine always got his save. But now you can increase the guardsman's AP levels up to the points where Space Marines don't get saves. And it's a bit like...
We were talking about this earlier, with the lack of armor, the loss of Armor of Contempt, TV's about to turn off as well, with the loss of Armor of Contempt, what you can do now with the already problematic unit that is the... just show everyone the fucking remote control. With the already problematic unit that is the Harlequin, what you could do now is you can give them Take Aim, which puts them on a 2+ to hit and AP -3.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. And then you can play the Stratagem, where 6 is to wounded and mortal wounds, and gives them an additional point of AP.
Yeah,
so
nice
Harlequin, a guard elite troop, can now get to a point where they shoot at a Space Marine, boo, and you don't get a save.
Yeah. And they're 100 points for 10.
I know!
And they auto wound on 6s, and if you spend a Stratagem, you auto wound on 5s. And that Stratagem that gives you +1 AP also does more wounds on 6s.
Right, we have got probably 15 minutes left in me chat right now because we need to start setting up for tonight's stream for chat plays. If you desperately want to get a question in whilst we're still ranting right now, stick it on a big colourful postcard, stick it in a super chat, chuck it in right now, and we'll see if we can get to it. But I think the balanced data slate has been a bad update from Games Workshop. I think some of the points changes have been a bad update from Games Workshop. I think on the whole, and I'm going to add the one caveat for this particular book, and that is the Leagues of Votann Patrol Detachment allying into Space Marines. I think on the whole, this has been a good job.
That whole book, apart from the Leagues of Votann Patrol, because it wasn't needed, they need to stay as their own single faction. That is an incredible book. That's the best thing to come to competitive play since they took it off the ITC.
Yes, and I agree. And this detachment is what I would like to see in future core rulebooks for 10th edition as this is it. We haven't got 15 detachments, we've got one detachment, this is it. I genuinely believe, chat, that this is actually a good book on the whole. Again, caveat, no Leagues of Votann Patrol detachment.
The balanced data slate, right, has made units that have -1 AP and only -1 AP viable again, because you never saw anything that had -1 AP in it because it was pointless, because you've come against a Space Marine player, they just ignored it. I think so. Things like witches, Gauss weapons now for Necrons are actually a lot better.
My Dire Avengers just got so good.
Really, really good. But Marines need something to stay alive. And I'm almost sat on the fence now, after mentioning about the Dark Angels, you just give all Space Marines transhuman. In Votann, you can't re-roll to wound against them, and that's majoritively an army of toughness 4, toughness 5, can't re-roll to wound against 2-up, 3-up saves with a majoritively 4-up invulnerable save. The least Space Marines can do is have permanent transhuman. or make transhuman free, or it's 1 CP but you can spend it as many times as you want.
I actually genuinely don't mind Space Marines as a flat rule having transhuman on all their infantry, if I'm honest with you. Having said all that, my problem with transhuman right now, when transhuman first came out as a stratagem for Space Marines, I felt like it was quite a narrative thing because they're Space Marines. But now that's the problem I have with it now. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Everyone has access to a form of it, and I don't like that.
Well, Cadian infantry
can have transhuman
for 1 CP.
So if you look at stratagems and codexes, if they stopped trying to make 6 to 8 pages of stratagems for every army, they went for 1 page of 8 stratagems. Guess what? You're probably not going to see. You're not going to see overlap everywhere. No. Where we've got to make another page of stratagems. Just copy those fucking 8, give them a slightly different wording, and chuck them in the codex.
What they need to do is get rid of all current existing ones. You just have a couple pages of core stratagems that everyone has access to. So -1 to hit, +1 to hit, +1 to save, transhuman. Everyone has access to the same 8 stratagems, and they're all basic and generic. This unit gets to ignore invulnerable saves. This one you don't get a damage cap versus, and that's it.
I also would limit them to 1 use per battle as stratagems.
Wasn't it? No retreat.
So Pardo did a thing at No Retreat last year where he made you deck build your stratagems from your codex, and I think he restricted it to 5 stratagems, so you could use all of them as many times as you wanted, but you could only take 5 stratagems, and you submitted them as your army list as entry for the tournament. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
So if you're a guard player, for instance, like if whichever regiment you pick, you get an associated stratagem extra. So you go, well, I'm going to pick that one, and that leaves me 4 other stratagems from that whole book that I'm going to take, which then becomes a lot more streamlined in terms of.
No, but you had to select them at the start.
Yeah.
So you didn't select them at the start of the game. You set them as part of your list submission.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it means that when which is quite good for the game in general, because that will actually start to streamline how armies get built.
Yeah.
And if you only have access to the Arks of Omen detachment, you're like, well, I want these 5 stratagems. How do I get the most out of these 5 stratagems?
So the reason why it's a temporary fix, Pardo's particular fix, is simply because you will just see the same 5 stratagems from each book being used because they're the best ones.
Well, I mean,
right?
If they've got 12 Space Marine players there,
we all look through the books and we all look at the stratagems and we all get to a point where we go, here's the best 6 in the book. I'm just running those ones, right? Typically, unless some people are building slightly skew builds where they might bring in a separate stratagem. Yeah. But for what he was working with, it was a good fix. The one reason why I really loved it is because it had to be included on your army roster, which meant that when I come up to the table with you, with my Harlequins, I say, there you go, Joe, there's the 5 stratagems I've read. Have a read of them. Now, what was I talking about earlier? Stratagems create feel-bad moments. If you can read those 5 stratagems in 5 minutes before the game starts, and it should only take you 5 minutes, a minute a stratagem roughly, you can go, okay, so I know that you can give yourself a 3-up invulnerable save if you advance. I know that you can do this. I know that you can do this. I know you can make yourself -1 to hit. Cool. I know that now. Yeah. Perfect. I know what you can do. I've removed some of the feel bads from 40k.
Yeah.
There's too much feel bads. We've had some super chats. Big thank you, Bush Grizzly. Has it been confirmed we lost Armour of Contempt? Everyone lost Armour of Contempt. It's gone completely because Games Workshop are stupid. Gaz of all trades. Thank you for the £10 donation. I agree about Horus Heresy AP system. I picked up Horus Heresy recently and it feels a lot better. How do you feel about Age of Sigmar's way of limited stratagems where both players have the same choices? Could it work? Yes, it could. Age of Sigmar also adds in command abilities which are linked to data sheets directly. So when that specific unit is removed from the battlefield, you lose that command ability and you can spend CP to use some of those command abilities. Age of Sigmar just so many things better. It's not a perfect game. It's not a great game necessarily. But there's a lot of things they do better. Stratagems and CPs is one of the things that I think Age of Sigmar has better over 40k, personally, in my opinion. The Heresy AP system is better. I will go as far as to say that I think the Heresy rule set is, as a core rule set, flat better than 40k, but I'm going to add a but.
It's not easy to learn.
It was organised by a dyslexic octopus who took rules in each hand and just slapped them wherever he wanted. Someone put all the rules, jumbled them up, and then just threw them, and that's where they went in the books.
Well, I think when they took the core rule book from the last edition of Horus Heresy, and someone was like, double the number that are in this book, please. I want more universal special rules, but only some people have access to them, and some are real similar to others, but not the same. And some are only attached to one gun, but we won't put the rules for that one gun, that one person that only has that one gun on the page for that one person. We'll put it somewhere else.
Oh, if you've looked at the Heresy rule set. Oh, okay. So I found my I've got the books up here. I'm not going
The Leviathan, some of the Leviathan Dreadnought weapons have 7 or 8 special rules.
So I had a Leviathan Dreadnought, and I went to my Chaos Leviathan Dreadnought section in the Chaos Heresy rules book, and I found the Leviathan Traitorous Astartes rules book, and I found the Leviathan. Whole page this big, Leviathan section about that big. It says that you can take all these weapons, but doesn't list any of the weapons on the data sheet. So I then had to go and find the weapons. So I went and found the weapons, multiple different places. So you haven't just got Leviathan range, Leviathan melee, you've got melee weapons, Dreadnought melee weapons, autocannon weapons, bolt weapons, laser weapons, and you had to find them. They were all in separate places. Yeah. So someone again had gone, in a barrel, put a grenade in, there goes your rules.
But when you find that weapon
will then give you 4 universal special rules. And some of them, for example, around the grav weapons were concussive based. I was like, okay, so I went to the main rule book, because I know that loyalists have grav weapons as well, Jay. So I went to the main rule book, went into the universal special rules and found the concussive stuff for grav weapons, and they weren't all there. Because one of the concussive rules happens to just be a Traitorous Astartes one. So I went back to the Traitorous Astartes, had to go and find the universal special rules section for that one. Fucking Jesus Christ.
Battlescribe me. I've been told by multiple people, I find it very difficult to even chew my way through this book. And they're like, ignore the books, only use Battlescribe.
Ed says, luckily the 30k books are so badly bound that mine fell apart, so I have all the pages loose and have stuck them in a folder.
Yeah.
So chat plays tonight, says Gaz, new rules, no mistakes, right? I'm not playing, Gaz, so yes.
I'm slightly worried. I went from mildly worried to like, oh dear.
So Angler said, by the way, if Marines can take Votann allies, can Votann take Marines as allies, or is it just to buff Marines so they can have even more already enormous unit variety?
Fun fact, yes, that is correct. Space Marines Votann don't get access to Space Marines.
Yeah, so Space Marines can take an allied detachment of Votann because apparently they work together, but Votann can't take an allied detachment of Space Marines. And at the moment, when we look at the detachment abilities, if you take Space Marine allies as Votann, I don't know how or if this breaks army abilities.
Usually it's the secondary detachment that doesn't get the army abilities.
Yeah, so...
Because sometimes it's if your whole army is this keyword you get, and sometimes it's like the detachment gets it. Yeah. Is the Votann book here, or is it in the other room?
I think Brom's got the Votann book at home.
We've got all these missing books, and they all seem to be in Brom's house.
Yeah,
because just make them.
Well, have you seen him? He's been playing Ultramarines for 5 years, and he still doesn't know his rules, Joe. So he's going to read the codex for the next fucking 12 months and still get all the rules wrong. Right.
Do you know what would be even funnier? If he started winning games with Harlequins, now they're bonk.
They are bonk now. What would be even funny if I played his Votann with my Harlequins and still beat him?
That'd be embarrassing.
Oh, right. I still contemplate me and you each building a Heresy army and playing some Heresy on stream, but it's a lot of time and effort for me to just get angry rule books on stream and throw them.
I've been told by people that play Horus Heresy, right, that once you've learnt the rules, it's a great game.
Yeah.
Once you've got through the initial learning of universal special rules, because every player basically runs the same army, or not the same army, but different combinations of the same models, then all the rules kind of intertwine. I love Heresy. During the 7th edition dark times...
Do you know, right?
I moved
when Heresy became a thing because 7th edition was balked. Yeah. Look what's weirdly happening now. It's almost like the way they sell Heresy is by fucking 40k.
Yeah, but during 7th edition, Heresy used the same rules as 7th edition, so it was really easy to learn.
So Johnny has said, are you going to read the missions? We're not going to read the missions tonight, but what we are going to do, and we've discussed this amongst us, is we're going to do maybe once or twice a month, we're going to do a Arks of Omen game, so we'll showcase you the missions. Because I think we can do that.
I think we should do a league where we all pick one army. And we only use that. Obviously, you can change your army list, but we all pick one faction, one army, and then we all play each other. And the person with the most wins
What would you pick? If you could pick one faction, what would you pick?
I don't know. I'd either pick
I know what I'd pick.
Chaos Space Marines
Yeah.
or Guard. I think I'd pick Chaos Space Marines.
Cool.
Just because I know them better.
Okay.
Which means you can take the Valhallans.
Well,
I would be very sad.
So I would want to take Guard.
Yeah.
So I would pick Craftworld or Guard. And if I had an easy choice to make because everything was ready to go, I'd just pick Craftworlds, genuinely.
Yeah.
However, that would require me painting my Craftworlds, and
So
I want to start this league soon.
Yeah.
So it'll be Guard because they're ready to go.
So you're going to take Guard. I'll take Chaos Space Marines. Paddy can take Raven Guard.
Paddy would probably take Tau,
Because
I reckon. I feel like
I think
take
he would
Tau.
because he just tailor it to his opponent.
We can't. Okay. Brom,
Maybe we have a set army list.
Brom would now take Votann
Yeah.
because he wouldn't want to take Harlequins anymore.
No.
He was his favourite army until
And
the final.
he won't take Ultramarines because he doesn't know how to use them.
Not quite, no.
I've had times where Brom has come here with an army list. I've gone, no, they're not putting it on the table.
Does DM have an Arks of Omen book? Rusty, this one here. Does it have the rules reprinted? Yes, the core rules are in the back of the book, sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If you played 7th, Heresy is pretty easy to pick up. So, when you take out the craziness of the end of 7th and all the formations of all the free stuff and all the stupid rules, and you take out a couple of little nuances, D-weapons, invisibility, 7th was the best rule set they've made so far in 40k, in my
The
opinion.
only thing I might change to 7th edition. So in 7th edition, depending on where you were being shot from, you took off the closest model, which made sense. Which means that if you were a bit special and you put your plasma gun on the outside of the unit closest to your opponent because you wanted to fire 2 shots because rapid fire range,
You could lose it.
You could lose it because someone shot back at you. I think that's a rule I'd probably take out and just say you can just take off whatever models you want. But keep things like the new unit coherency, which I'm a big fan of, that you move into.
Anyway, right, you beautiful people in chat, right? You guys are amazing. We've had nearly 300 people all day listen to me rant and talk nonsense.
We said when we came on at 1:30,
It'll be an hour.
we were like hour, then
Yeah.
we're going chill. It's nearly 4 o'clock.
Yeah, we've done 2.5.
2.5 hours of you
Yeah.
losing our connection with
I
people.
I want to go as no, because I still think this is amazing, with the exception of the Votann piece, and I still think the Arks of Omen stuff that we've seen on the chapter approved, not the chapter approved, on the community page for new boarding actions looks really good.
Oh, I can't wait for. I honestly cannot wait for new boarding actions.
And I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah.
So please don't take too much disheartening from what we've just talked about, because actually I'm very, very much looking forward to this new year of playing 40k with Joe, with Bron, with Paddy, with Eddie when he comes back, and Chris.
The takeaway is that if you're going to play Warhammer, play against only nice people.
Yes.
If you play against people that make the game horrible, cut them out of your life entirely.
Soul Snapfire, that's something I would get rid of. I don't know if that's back in Heresy. Heresy, what they did in Heresy is they went, here's 7th edition, let's take all the good stuff out, let's remove all the bad stuff and make it better, which they did. Let's get rid of Stratagem because it's dog shit and put in reactions, much better. But then let's jump all the rules up just to make it a little bit more difficult, because we wouldn't be Games Workshop if we didn't fuck it somehow.
If it was user friendly, me and you would already be playing it.
If it was I've got 2 issues with Heresy. The first one is exactly what you just talked about. And the first one I looked through the rules, I went, this is mental, and I got annoyed and put the books down. And the second thing is, every time I get excited about Heresy, this is a genuine problem for me. Every time I get excited about Heresy, I go and look on the Forgeworld website through all the character series and the units, and I instantly get turned off because it's all fucking Space Marines.
That's
I
cool.
just don't like Space Marines.
If I could convince you to buy all the armies that I want, we'd have one of every legion and it'd be brilliant. Because I love Horus Heresy. I've listened to all the books and I've not read all the books because some of them I was like, oh, it's a boring legion. But like, I would love to have the most fluffiest version of every legion here. Like go in. Like I want all biked white scars. I want all Raptor Night Lords. You know, I want a whole Reaver, Sons of Horus army. with Sons of with
The
Son of
thing
Jorge on the
is,
front.
the only thing that remotely interests me in Heresy is Admech, which in Heresy is pretty much all fucking resin, and I won't do it.
That is one of the main problems. Is that some armies you solely have to require all 4 job models.
Maybe I'll do a Sons of Horus army.
If you're a White Scars player, all the stuff they've released in plastic is pointless to you.
Sons of Horus, 10 Leviathans done.
I want to do Sons of Horus. Got a mid-yet. I got Abaddon.
Yeah, but that's in black. It's the wrong colour.
Because he wears black armour because he's just staring.
He is just staring.
He's just staring at you.
So, people, we do have another live stream at 7:30 this evening for Chat Plays, which is not this competitive nonsense. This is absolutely, there's no real rules, genuinely. It's gloves off.
Should we do a competitive game next week?
Should we do an Arks of Omen game? So, first of all, chat, should we do an Arks of Omen game next week? Tell us in the chat below now. Yeah. Should we do one next week? It's all I care about.
Thursday or Tuesday?
We'll do it Thursday.
Members only.
We'll do it Thursday for the general public.
Yeah?
Because it gives me time to build the scoreboard, because I have to change the scoreboard for it.
Oh, yeah.
The current scoreboard won't work for... Well, okay. It will actually work.
It will do.
Will it work?
Yeah, because you still have the secondaries bit. It just means that on the scoreboard you have to have a section... you'd have to change the secondary drop-down, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You have to do a whole drop-down menu for all.
So it will take me some time. So if we do it, it'll be Thursday. If we do it, yeah, why not? Says some people. You might as well stay on at this point, says John. No, absolutely. Yes, yeah, go for it. Okay, we'll look at play some Arks of Omen. I am excited about playing Arks of Omen as well in the future. I also have to. I've got so many fucking things to do as well. Should be okay. Yes, please. Yes to both. Okay, so cool.
I have got a fun Black Legion competitive list actually.
Have you?
In mind, yeah. In fact, I don't think it's a vast change from what I might be running tonight.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. So that's that is next week. The other thing I want to ask you guys, actually, genuinely, because this has been quite good, actually, Jay. More Liam and Joe show? Yes or no?
Can we get fancy chairs?
Can we call it the Liam and Joe show?
Yeah. Liam and Joe show.
That's a
yeah.
It's like a name right there.
Can it be like black and white, like one of those 70s TV
and pipes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And smoking jackets.
Yeah.
And I want a chair. Because I'm lazy.
So thank you all, Master Will. Stop for food and found Liam live. He's then also said that hashtag Red Corsairs are meta. They're not. Golden Blade became a member at Skull Tier. You're a legend.
Red Corsairs, is that Will?
Yeah. Of course it is. Will. Yeah.
Actually.
So Golden Blade, welcome to the channel as well. Thanks for joining us. You're a hero. You'll get access to all of our members only content next week.
Will. Red Corsairs, competitive army list. You run the fast attack option. Red Corsairs, Warp Talent, and Bike List.
Someone said yes to Liam and Joe show. How about the Joe and Liam show? Doesn't really work, does it?
The Joe and Liam show, but then his name would be first, and then he'd be upset.
No, because it's just the way it flows as a sentence. Liam and Joe show. Mm-hmm. It's like the Angry Joe show.
Yeah.
You know that channel?
No. Not all Joes get together. We don't all know each other.
The Angry Joe show. It's a pretty big channel, Jay, to be honest with you. Call it the LD and J sandwich.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a more positive response to more Liam and Joe show than we have to more competitive content. But, you know.
We could do that.
We could do it. Otherwise,
we're going to do it as a live? We'll just pick a random topic. We won't plan it in advance. We'll turn up,
Joe,
and I'll be like, Liam, what are we talking about today? And he'll be like, Games Workshop announced this today. Go.
Joe, I never plan anything in advance.
I know, good.
So
it'll be fine. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll take whatever the Warhammer community articles or whatever the big topic is from the day before, and we'll just talk about that. And you just complain.
I don't want to, so I don't like being the negative person, right? And actually, if you wouldn't know this because you don't watch any of my fucking Talking Heads content, but what happens quite often is if I have a negative stream like today, I'll try and make sure that the next 2 or 3 are positive. So last night, I did a show which was just like, well, Arcadians enough for Guard, or should we see more different regiments and stuff like
Which
that?
is Archers, that is, yes.
Which is what Arcadians are enough.
No, Arcadians are enough.
Okay.
More regiments, please.
So, and that's just a generic chat. That's not a complaint necessarily. It's not a moan as such. Yeah. I don't like doing negative content because I don't like the way it feels. I don't like the fact that it brings other people down. But I have always said that when they do something that I think is flat wrong, I'm going to call them on it. And I think this is a bad balanced data slate on the whole. Points. There's a couple of issues with points for me. I don't feel like Zoanthrope should have been 70 points a model. And I do feel like the Iron Master for the Votann should have gone up in points.
Do you know who was a big winner? Dave.
Well,
the
what's he at now?
Scorpion.
What's he at now?
He went down by like 120 points.
Did he?
Right? he could be usable. Kerry Kaitona, right?
He's still shit.
It's still terrible.
Hasn't
But
got armor of contempt anymore.
hasn't got armor of contempt. has gone down by like 50 to 70 points.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's much like her career. Not going to save her.
No. No.
It's,
She could check out free tickets.
I just think Kerry Kaitona needs help. I think the Kaitan either should have gone down with more points, or should be free. I guess you get a free one. Every Chaos player gets a free Kaitan. Yeah,
I mean, look, 555s. That's a bit extreme, Jay, maybe.
they're still terrible.
Right, he's just going to keep talking if I don't shut the stream down, right? Which is why the Liam and Joe show could become a thing.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to work it out because at the moment on Thursdays we're supposed to be filming battle reports for DZ and we won't have time to do battle reports, Liam and Joe show and a stream.
I'll just set fire to that. You know, just only Joe and Liam show. That's it.
I know I need battle reports for DZ, Jay.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
my
it
primary source of income. So.
Yeah. Fine. If you want to make money.
It's not about wanting to make money, it's about needing to pay
We could
for
do a battle report, and then we could go sit in your office, do the Liam and Joe show. Get rid of the wife's desk.
No, I don't
Put a
think that's-
sofa in there.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Get rid of the drum set. Just big sofa. Done.
Right, thank you guys for hanging out with us on this impromptu stream. If you do love it, let us know in the comments afterwards. And I've seen that as well. I'll read that in a minute. Let us know in the comments afterwards if you did enjoy it, because it was impromptu. And if when we get more of these things, you want to see more of these kinds of shows, I'll just force Joe to drive in more often. That's about it for us for today, for this particular stream, this particular topic. Tonight, for a more upbeat stream, for more fun, more laughs, more lols, Paddy takes on Joe. It's the Tau versus the Black Legion with a brand new Tau Nar battle suit using no armour of contempt. And Abaddon at 350 points. So
I'm gonna have to go and get the old pen and paper out.
no, just use the normal points because Paddy will be using the normal points and he won't get here till late, and I'm not going to make him change last minute.
I think you should.
So it's chat play tonight, 7:30. The stream's already scheduled, so you can already see it on the. In fact, I can do a thing now, Joe.
A thing.
Yeah, almost penetrated you.
Oh.
I can do a thing now, which is fancy. So you can just sit there and dance and entertain chat for a brief moment.
So thank you, War Mr. Will. He says, how did you know? Because that's the best way to run Red Corsairs. It's just all fast-moving units all the time. And then Lehman Russ says, hey, it's Nidguy and Joe.
Yeah,
I like how every time people comment and stuff, that like tall bearded guy, he's really angry. You know?
Don't, Joe.
The Harlequin guy, he's so angry. The Tyranid guy, he's just so opinionated. I was like, his name's on the channel.
Yeah,
You know?
we use our names all the time.
Yeah. It even says in the description who's playing what army.
Yeah.
You have to press several buttons on your computer to get to the Liam Dempsey channel
Yeah,
to watch a Liam Dempsey battle report.
I know, but it's nice to just say
And
that
your
guy.
cartoon face is on it.
Yes, just that guy
You're just that guy.
makes me angry. Joe's about to set up a table.
Yeah.
I think that's everything. Oh, hang on, I need to. Is it that one? Yes. No, I'm learning myself now.
Yeah. The
Right.
Votann guy. Yeah.
No, go away, all of you. Right, see you tonight, 7:30. Come and hang out with us. Love you all. Love you lots.
Bye bye.
See you later.